Well, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Zwift Community Live broadcast of the Zwift Classics Watopia Cup Europe edition. We're going to be covering across all three zones. C1 and C3 are the AutoCats we're going to be jumping into. So, riders are out on Seaside Sprint. A little bit of a change up, Dave. We had over the last week, we were going to be out on the Watopia Mountain, but I think there was a community vote, as well as also looking to use the testing of the AutoCAD system a little bit better too, as well, I think. But we are I had a lot of fun actually with the New Zealand stream of this and the event. A lot of the riders seemed to really really enjoy it, and also the tactics got really interesting out there on this course with the sprint each and every lap on a shorter lap, followed up by some pretty tactical sections of course where you can try and get away.
Yeah, I'll be interested to hear, Nathan, how things played out as we get things rolling 5 laps or 6 laps out here today, as we get to jump in with some races that I think, Nathan, I'm with you. I think the community spoke, and it sounded like this is a much more desirable course for this time of year. It makes sense. I'm starting to understand in talking with Martin more and more about how AutoCat works, and been really impressed to see the progress that's being made. It's extremely cool to kind of follow along and see the tweaks, and this is a really good example of, if we had such an extreme course, we wouldn't really get to play around with AutoCat all that much. We need riders riding together, and that's what we should get more of out here today. How big was the group that went to the line with the C1 field out there?
Yeah, last night. Early this morning, we had, I think, it was a pretty solid group. Actually, it was a pretty solid group coming to the line. But very
More than
tired. Tired
15?
group. Yeah, I think there was about more than 15. I could take a look at it here actually real quick, but there was definitely more than 15 riders. At the end of the day, it looked like in the C4s that we covered this morning, it was a little bit more separated, probably about 10 riders, but it was a much smaller pack. But in the C1s, definitely a larger group. And it was interesting to see there was some big hitters in the sprint. Some riders did try and get away early, were unable to make that happen. We are going to be coming right on into one of the first sprint sections, actually. I want to really quickly here, if you're unfamiliar, this is a Rebel route that ended up getting put in game. Zwift's Insider released some Rebel routes that they suggested. Go check out these routes. They're cool. You can kind of put together your own route by using the turn arrows in game, and Seaside Sprint was one that they promoted for a while, and then after a while that actually became an event-only route that you could jump out onto. So that's where this actually came from. The Seaside Sprint Zwift Insider threw that together, and then Zwift went ahead and put it in game, which is pretty awesome to see.
How long have you been using the term rebel route? I absolutely love that.
Yeah, well, that's a Zwift Insider. Talk to Eric Schlange about that one.
That's a new term.
That's 100%.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
An Eric Schlange thing. So he put those together.
And I think it's a great example of how organic it is in the community, right? If enough people show an interest in a route like this, then there you go. We'll be out. Very cool. So, Nathan, as we mentioned, the sprints, and that's another thing that, we'll have some time today to talk about it. But when you look at esports and comparing it to bike racing, sure, it's bike racing, but we've learned so much about what the racers are looking for. And having these sprints along the way give some of the riders something to play for. It suits more riders as far as the spirit of competition, that's for sure. We're going to jump right in with one of the INC riders, actually make it coalition right now because, all right, so for the C1s and C3s,
this is going to be C3, just as a heads up. This is right. C3.
5 laps for these guys. So that's going to be 34.3-ish K, more like 41K to round that number out for you. 6 laps for the C1s. But that's who we're jumping in with here. It's healthy to see this kind of racing going on. This is the Watopia Cup, Eastern Europe's. And again, you're going to see, go ahead, Nathan, look at this sprint, eh?
Yeah, that was Halstenbach came through perfect timing actually there at the last moment. Ends up taking down, taking down the rest of the pack. Now the interesting thing each and every lap here is going to be how this comes back together or separates after every time they come on through. It does look like he's using a burrito actually here to try and maybe split things up right from the get-go, and that's an area of effect now, everybody. He actually, absolutely.
Florian, yeah, Nathan, seeing that 98 kilo at 205 centimeters, this is going to be a devastating rider here. I love what Hastelbach is doing, one of the Kirkmeyer riders. I saw Stefan Kirkmeyer won a premier level race in Europe over the last couple of this last weekend, the namesake of the Kirkmeyer team. So congratulations there. Always good to see. And let your legs do the talking, right? Well, that's what Halstenbach is doing right now. And Nathan, it is brutal out there. Take a look at this as they are turning the screws like a Black and Decker right now.
Definitely the drills are on at this point because looking at the back of this pack, total mayhem and 3 seconds here for Selby, and they don't do something about this now. This race is already over for some of these riders. Now, I think this is going to come back together. I think up front here, I'm not sure that they're going to be, well, depends on how motivated, not even motivated. If there's not enough firepower, even though this is a large pack back here, and the boys up front want to kind of put the hammer down. We'll see here. I mean, they are kind of sitting up a little bit. Depends on whether or not this group sits up. If they want to continue on, 3 groups out on course already.
Boy, it's Nathan, you look at the dynamics, right? It's a bit more every man for himself, isn't it? During this part of the season, you don't see the team showing up with 8 or 10 riders anywhere near like you used to. That changes the dynamic in the racing. Let's talk about that, right? I mean, when it's every man for himself, it's a lot different than when you can look around and see you've got 4 or 5 teammates with you in the second group and know that they can all combine to pitch in to chase back or close down a gap.
Yeah, it does look like Bianchi here from Cryogen knows exactly what you're talking about, that it has to be him to go across right now or this is over. 45 kilometers per hour here, 45 from the pack. And as they hit this 2-tier in just a moment, most likely new attacks are going to be coming out of here. You're going to have to throw down some serious orange numbers from this backpack to come across. I think a few riders will get across, but not everybody, because anybody who's on the limit at this point is going to be flying backwards comparatively to this front group.
I got to be honest, Nathan, if I was directing these riders, I would try to go across with 2 or 3 other guys in a surge rather than try to bring everybody back. And I mean, in all honesty, I'd look around and say, look, it is every man for himself here. And if you guys aren't going to start pitching in and trying to close this gap down, I'm not going to do all of this work to bring 35 of you guys back. So trying to find a couple of riders that want to go across from station to station, because you got to do this while the gap is small. You can't risk this is you don't want to play around with it going up another 10 seconds. Then it starts to become a huge ask to go across.
Yeah, and you do see the group did get across here, but a few casualties from it. It is going to be the rider out of Belgium, Rari here, trying to use that drafting power, trying to get back on terms. 183 beats per minute now. 53rd place. That's where it's at when it comes to who's able to make this front group. Now, looking back here, I mean, this is a lot of starters here. And this is the reason why we did cover this. We're looking at well over 100 starters in this category. We will be following along with the women out here as well, as Pedro here, I think, is sitting in a top 10 situation currently amongst the women. The cool thing about the system and the way that they've run it through the classics here with the second half is they did switch things up. WTRL did, in order to make sure everybody's got somebody to race against. And so they ended up racing the men and the women together, starting from separate pens, but then coming together once the race does start. This is the back end of the lead group here. As you can see, it is splitting a little bit more. That 2-tier, I always said it's the continuance over the top. We're actually talking not any longer about top 50 to make it. Now we're talking top 30, Dave.
Yeah, it's the double dip on your pain code. This is an extremely aggressive race. Wanted to shout out, Nathan, circling back to what you were just talking about. How about Julia Shalau over the last couple of weeks, the Rose Beast Mode rider? Talk about punching above your weight. She's been jumping in some of the races combined fields and beating all of the guys out there. Super impressive. And I would have to say one of our riders of the summer for sure, talking about Shalau.
Yeah, that was really, really impressive last week when we saw her take down the men's field, actually. And that's one of the cool things I think about this new system is the ability for riders to race across gender. They're very awesome to see. I want to shout out here I'm recognizing a new team name with this flag, and I thought that this might have been something that was just a single rider putting this name in there, but I'm seeing this Trek Trake, and that's going to be the Turkish flag, and
I love
Trakia.
it.
And
Trakia, yep.
I'm noticing at least two or three riders, all with the Turkish flag with that same team name. So we may have another situation here where a country is being newly represented in the world of Zwift here in the esports world for cycling. Pretty awesome to see. Hamlet, Wahoo Cole trying to get an early kick. We saw it work a couple times last night, but Bang's coming on through.
Welcome.
P.O. Auto. P.O. Auto. Here we go. Bang Anderson making it happen right to the line. There it is.
Okay, so welcome to our Turkish friends for sure, Nathan. We were talking about India, the ISRT team. So I had a friend when I lived in Seattle who was I worked in a bike shop with a guy from Turkey who loved cycling and racing, and I am super stoked to see Turkey in the mix. So this is some how do you do, however, from our Danish friend, as Mads Bang Andersen here is going to really put the sting in some legs. This is going to be a lactic acid effort or inducing effort for quite a few riders now, as Nathan, oftentimes when you go to make a course change, riders will race. It's not about making a course change, I should say. When you have a shorter distance course without so much climbing today, it's in that 300-ish meter range. The racers make the race, and they are making this one very, very aggressive out here. This is no laughing matter in the first 10K.
No, not at all. And you can see, right, it's completely mayhem out here. The packs has been pretty split up over and over again. This looks like Bangs Anderson is going to go back into the group a little bit. BL13, always a team to be watching out for. And I've seen Juiced on the front often. I think he is trying to push the pace whenever there may be a little bit of reprieve. A lot of times through the sections on course where you least expect it are the times to try and make something happen. When people are looking for rest, a lot of times that's when the pack is going to slow down a little bit. And through here, people don't always expect something to happen. A little bit of kick off the front could benefit, but you need to really get a good gap, because that 2-tier, a lot of times the riders are going to be punching over the top of that. So looking to get riders to come across to you could be a tactic through this section. This flatter section along the seaside, then the right-hand turn into the classic 2-tier, into the volcano. Definitely a section where if you do have a gap, riders could come across and try and make some sort of breakaway. It doesn't usually succeed. I haven't seen it succeed very often on this course, but it does whittle things down. If there are a couple of sprinters you're trying to get off of the wheels, you can try and succeed that way, or at least soften up their legs, as it is a very high speed sprint to that finish line.
I found, Nathan, the best way to guarantee a solo winner or a small group is for me to guarantee a field sprint. So I would have to say that it's always so interesting, because the way that the racers race the race is going to have such a huge impact on what that final K looks like, and you never really know what you're going to get. It gets aggressive out here. We're only a quarter of the way in today. Might be not quite as much climbing or long, but it is not an easy day out here. You're going to look at a good solid hour of racing for our A group, that is.
Dirt here, active on the front. Peter Evans here coming out of South Africa, a little bit of a press. Now, this is the section, a lot of times you can put people into a little bit of pain. As you come over the top of that first tier, it's the second kick, actually, that does separate things out. We've seen it over and over again. The speed, keeping that speed high, getting the gap, and then kicking again over this second time over the top here. You do get another power up too as well. So we'll see. Not using anything though. I wonder if he doesn't have one, perhaps, or if he's saving things up for a sprint later on. A lot of times, if you do have an aero power up, it is the strongest, especially in a sprinter's course. So maybe saving things up. Looks like Peter's going to back off just a tad. Now back up into 400 watts though, and he's still got a gap here. It's out to 14, 13 meters. They're kind of letting him dangle, though, here a little bit.
Yeah, I would, to tell you the truth, as I think that when you look at it, if a breakaway is going to succeed, I don't see it going before 25K into this 41K race. seems a little early to be attacking out of this group. Keeping the pace high is one thing, but attacking this group, you might be burning a match that you want for later.
Yeah, 100%. This section, of course, here is a great section for a little bit of an attack actually off the front. It's interesting. The flatter sections were, as I was saying before, across the seaside. This section as well, a little bit unexpected. If you do get a little bit of a gap, you could have a couple riders come across to you through the Essies. But early on, as you were saying here, Dave, there's going to be a lot of energy left in the legs, a lot of glycogen stores still ready to go. It's later on when people have already had the hurt on. Now, you sit in a lot, though, and you don't bring the race to the riders. Those sprinters are going to love it, though, Dave, right? You kind of have to, and without the teams
That's a
as
fine
much
line.
in here, it is a fine line. If you don't bring the race to the rest of the riders and you're looking to try and make them tired, but you're also just sitting in, and all you're doing is sprinting every lap, it might not be to your advantage. So I did do this race as the KISS 100. We did 16 laps on this course, I believe it was, for the KISS 100. And my goal was to try and get a breakaway situation. We ended up with only a few riders left in the end, but there were a few sections, of course, that kept in mind every single lap that if I want to put the hurt on, I have to continue. And actually, it was almost like whatever I felt good enough for it and I could roll through with some speed. It was like orange numbers, try and make something happen. Now, one section, though, I almost never attacked through was right here. Because you rolled into this very sharp downhill on the Essies, and essentially they just roll right back to you. After you're into the Essies, if you're attacking over the top of some of the climbs, it can try and get away, but that pack, it really starts to snowball. It's almost like a downhill all the way through with how much of an advantage the pack gets on each and every one of these little downhill bumps.
It's agreed, Nathan. It really reminds me of, let's say, in Richmond, attacking coming down into 23rd Street, right? It's like that's not the place to do it because of the gameplay. Momentum, such a huge factor. Do want to go and agree with you, though. When you're making those efforts, it's not always to create a breakaway. Sometimes you're putting riders out the back door of the group as well, eliminating some sprinters, just whittling that group down. If you can sense that one of the guys that you're worried about later might be in a little trouble now, why not slam the back door on them if you can? Get a teammate to help if possible. So there's a lot of reasons sometimes why riders are doing things. It's not always just to create a breakaway, but I would agree that at some point I would expect to see, who's with us, Nathan? I'm not sure if he took the start 100%, but Franklin Almeida, the Brazilian rider, was on our start list. I see Zach Nair's name as well, along with Mads Bang Anderson, who we were talking about. And certainly Paul Hamlet of the Wahoo Coal team has been a rider to watch out here. I haven't seen that Brazilian flag pop yet, though. So I'm wondering if he signed up and maybe we'll be racing later today, talking about Franklin.
A little bit of a punch over the top here. This is a good move. Here comes
there he is.
DZR rider.
There he is.
Moser guard. A little bit of a kick. And 51, 52. Will he get into a super tuck quick enough? If he is going to be able to super tuck here, and maybe, nice move here. This is what you want to do. You got to come over the top with enough to get into a super tuck early. It's a very good tactic. He's got 3 seconds. Now he can punch to the line with 10.9 after a little bit of a rest. Probably going to be able to hold it off here. Amazing tactic. Oh, right to the line, though, here. 57. They're going to come flying, and he'll be able to just hold on. With 3 seconds there, Dave. That goes to show you how quickly a pack can, how they can pick up speed, through those sections. The pack just some flying.
Boy, he played that perfectly. You know who would have loved that would be Kate Bates. He didn't burn 1 extra calorie. And now he can just work his way back through the group, and he'll still say, like sag climbing almost after that bonus sprint there. Marcel Musgard, that was a big one. That was nice. So the preem sprints in play right there as we continue to roll on. This is going to be C1 men that we're with here, the big dogs, and some big names. So this group, though, looks like at the back, Nate, doesn't look like a whole lot of fun right now.
No, and if they attack on the downhill, you got to remember there's not as much of a draft. And the speeds do not stay as easily on these downhills. You can actually attack through this downhill and get a gap, and the other riders do have to work a little bit harder. It's not like a usual downhill. You don't just kind of roll back on through in the pack here. You got to put a little bit of effort in between the riders. We do see Vision Rider T. Blake here trying to get back on terms, and that gap has gone out to 2 seconds. Smith from Innovation going to kind of hold things back together with 4 riders, but now Hopner as well. I think it's going to just barely get back here,
Ooh.
but there's some damage, though, that's been done back at the back of this pack now. It looks like
Not everyone's going to make it back.
Yeah. Well, look, they're letting these gaps open up here, and the moment that happens, other riders start sitting up, and it's over. I mean, look at this. This rider coming from that new Trakya now, out of Turkey, trying to get back now. Nizam's got to do it now because look at this. The ZRG rider says enough is enough. We're gone.
Well, very, very realistic to what you see in a gravel race where the downhill on the gravel, it's right afterwards as well. Riders who are making a huge effort trying to hold on. Then you hit the tarmac and you realize, oh boy, that's what the gap really looks like. And you can see now they're really scrambling back here. Interesting moment with such a long way to go here still, not even 20K in. And you can see that a lot of riders are fighting for their race right now. We're going to jump back over
C3s here as we get into their second sprint on the day, or second lap sprint on the day. Does look like most of the women have gotten together 158 back here at this point, racing each other, so that's good to see. Wilson now from the Wahoo Local team is going to be leading things out there. Jers there coming out of Poland, 7.39 watts per kilometer from Paul R, starting to kind of lead out a sprint now, but it's going to be Balentia, the Hungary rider now, 996 watts. There's an aero power. Look at how strong that aero power up and timing was as he comes on through. Jers there coming out of Poland, followed by Par R from the dirt. And Schmidt there from Coalition, who was the lead out man, essentially ends up coming through on 4th place. So the rider that we saw early on, Hastenbach, a little bit quieter coming through for that second lap. They do have 5 laps, so it's going to be 3 to go for these C3s out here. Amongst the women, 34 seconds back, a little bit of a kick. This is going to be the first women across the line, actually. Another sprint opening up between them. And then so this is actually a really good ride here from the Z-Sun rider, L. As the rest of the ladies, I think she has dropped most of them off, unless I am missing something here.
Lindsay Segal is the Z-Sun rider that we were with there. Boy, good to see all the fields look like they are well represented out here today, Nathan.
Yeah, very, very great to see. As there's actually the numbers really skyrocketed up this week, from what I'm being told. Actually, let's go ahead and let our man from WTRL himself, Martin, have a little bit of a conversation about that. Martin, are you there? We'll see if we can bring him in. He's gonna get his headphones on and let us know. He was super excited. It seemed like before the broadcast. And it's just a talking point a little bit as we head into the season, as we start to see the numbers pick up, and we know how things are heading towards ZRL Season 4. We did see a release. Martin, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, so you were chatting a little bit, saying that this week we really saw the numbers pick up. We also saw the release of some preliminary time zones. There might be some changes to them and stuff, but ZRL Season 4 on the horizon with that release from WTRL. So it looks like we're starting to get into the preseason, perhaps a little bit, as things start to pick up.
Yeah, very, very much so. 50 day, I think it's exactly 50 days. It might be 49, so don't hold me to that, until Zwift Racing League gets going for the full season. So yeah, the times are out. They are provisional at the moment. We've got an adjustment to make to the EMEA Women's League, and there is still a couple of leagues being debated to add in. But on the whole, the times that are out should be there or thereabouts, ready to welcome what we think will be about 15,000 riders once again.
That's absolutely awesome. 15,000 ride. What kind of an event do we have? It's so great. On a weekly basis, too. Even single big day events don't see those kinds of numbers, and every week having that kind of worldwide participation is amazing to see. You want to speak just a little bit to Watopia Cup? I know there was some fun had, it seems like, within the forums. I think most people pretty happy. A couple of people who really like to suffer were like, wait, what happened? I was planning on destroying myself for 2.5 hours on a Tuesday night, but and there may be preparation, so a little bit let down for a few, but just may want to speak to the thoughts there. It seemed like there was a two-prong approach as to why this had happened. One to do with the time and distance it would take on a Tuesday, and then also something to do with testing things out with the AutoCats. Is that correct?
Yeah, there was an element. We didn't receive too many, but we did hear from some people saying that they wouldn't be able to take part. It's too long a race for them on a school night, so to speak, on a work night, weeknight, whatever you want to call it. So that kind of played a hand into considering more seriously the change. But obviously with a mountainous course, AutoCat is really not going to give us great results for these kind of size of races. I mean, we were predicting sort of 30 to 40% drop in numbers. That's just what happens as soon as you introduce anything with significant climbing in. We saw it with the Apple Lap, sort of 20% drop in the number of people taking part that week. But congratulations to all those who did. I rode that KOM twice, and it seemed to go on forever. But
Martin got on the bike instead of punching the numbers for us. Loving to hear that. Martin, I really appreciate the info coming on through. We're going to jump into this sprint here as they're heading into their lap number 3. We'll check in with you just a little bit later. Always amazing though, Martin, and really excited to see what's happening with the zones coming up with ZRL Season 4 and this awesome Seaside Sprint today.
Yeah, all good. And I'm here in the background if you get stuck with your flags.
All right, Dave, here we go. And it doesn't look quite as tactical this time through with any kind of punch off the front. And going to be a little bit more of a traditional setup. But Hamlet here from Wahoo Cole coming on through. No arrow power up. Actually using a very early draft. And that's probably just to get rid of it here. Will Anderson have timed it well? I don't think so. Actually, it's Hamlet. Amazing kick actually coming on through from him.
Paul.
Anderson almost, but Mads Bang not going to be able to happen.
You can see these sprints are being won by just enough. Some super savvy riders that we've got taking a look.
It's a small group here, Dave.
Yeah, I was going to say, taking a look at this front group, it has whittled down. That's been the name of the game. I see some people in the chat cheering on this man, Mads Bang Anderson, very popular rider as we take a look at Wahoo Cole moving their guys up. We'll talk about Paul Hamlet, but Seldenik having a strong ride out here as well. This group has been thoroughly pulverizing itself out here over the first half of this race as we now move into the business end.
Every time I'd come into that second, immediately following the sprint, a lot of time people are struggling a little bit. They will be trying to just get back on terms if they didn't participate, or they're cooling down from the sprint to try and recover. And you hit those cobbles through there, and then after the cobbles, you hit the dirt immediately after that. Both of those are sections of course that slow the bikes down around you. And when you pick up a big burst of speed through those sections, other riders have to respond in a way that's a lot more wattage. You have to put out a little bit more effort to hang on, and it's a great section to go through with some sort of an attack, actually. We have seen it split a couple of times through here. This time, though, I think we're at a point, from when I'm watching this pack, they're kind of becoming a little bit more comfortable with who's made this and wondering, can we drop these individuals, right? They're starting to see, okay, this is about my level, perhaps, and trying to drop these riders is getting a lot more difficult than what we saw earlier in the race.
I could not agree more, Nathan. They have separated the wheat from the chaff, if you know what I'm saying. There's no low-hanging fruit left out there. This is all top-notch racers when you look around. You definitely have moved into the championship round of this race, that's for sure. Paul Hamlet is the rider certainly that puts himself onto my short list, the Wahoo Cole rider, and he's got some support in this group. It's been I was going to say a minute since we've seen Franklin Almeida of the World Elite Zwifter Oral 7 team. In my book, he's one of the best sprinters on the planet, the Brazilian rider. Certainly a guy I would not want in the group with me as we went to the line. And Nathan, there will be riders who go to, I would have to say, ballistic level out here in the last few K to try to make this into what will be a very different kind of sprint to wrap up the race, if it comes down to a sprint at all. It's certainly noteworthy. I've seen you talking about it on World of Zwift, and I've enjoyed all of the conversations of Zwift Craft. And Nathan, when you look at that 1K run into the finish line, how much is Zwift Craft going to come into play today?
Oh, 100%, knowing exactly how to go, if it's worth it, when to go, as we are seeing
Right, the winner's
going to... little bit of Zwiftcraft right here, 2 seconds.
Yeah.
This is such an interesting sprint, isn't it, Dave? The way that they have that, the kick over that punch, the last punch on the SEs and the reverse SEs, the downhill you can get into 57K if you time it right. If you get into it real early, get into a super tuck, and you can find some extra speed for free every single time you go through. And they have a few of these riders, they've, as you said, Dave, they've cracked the code. They've found the cheat code out here. And not actual cheat code, but I mean, they've figured out how to make this happen. Now, Coalition maybe with a counter a little bit. Here we go. 2 on the front. No, just setting
I think it's just bringing it all back together.
Yeah. Oh, there's a split again. Yeah, there we go.
And it might be 2 splits back through this group. Actually, it looks like just 1 right now. But Nathan, I was really enjoying it. So, yeah, I'm not sure if you're familiar with a Zwifter who actually I know as Get Zwifty, a meme account, was recently on Nowhere Fast, a podcast I was listening to, talking about how really the fun in Zwifting and racing in esports is learning how to learning the cheat codes, basically. And that's not fair, because it's not cheating, actually. It's the opposite of that. It's outthinking the other racers, knowing how maybe you watch someone else do it, Nathan. You understand that something happened there. I don't exactly understand what that was. I'm going to try using more momentum over the top of this climb, or surfing the group from the middle to the front and try to, all of these different techniques that you can use. So that's not really tactic, it's technique, right? And I think it's really, really fun for racers. Once you get to a certain physical ability, that's the game, and that's what keeps it so interesting out here. Besides the fact that...
Great point, actually, Dave. The difference between tactic and technique, that there is a technique. Like, it's not a tactic to corner well in a crit, right? Like the cornering well is your technique, your skill at that specific genre.
Perfect. Let me just jump on that, Nathan. The tactic then is using that technique, realizing I'm one of the 2 best cornerers out here in the final corner, so I'm not going to show that to everybody. That's the tactic. Rather than lap after lap impressing them with how great of you are at cornering, you actually might even want to help them think you're not that great so that you surprise them at the end of the race. And that would be using your technique as a tactic.
100%. Yep. And so the idea there, piggybacking on that, the difference is tactic. Where am I going? How am I going? The idea of what kind of pain people might be in. You could use your technique into some corners, but tactic is definitely going to take into the breadth of the race, the scope of what is going on in the race at any kind of moment to get the best advantage you possibly can. Whereas your technique, totally different, skill on the bike. And here's Zwift. And knowing the technique for each one of these sections is definitely going to give you some sort of an advantage. And we've seen it time and again, specifically on this course. I love these kind of courses that really highlight the ways that you can take advantage of knowing how to roll the avatar through well, knowing how to use your power at the right times to get the most speed out of that game, out of the avatar. And a lot of people will say, wait, no, it's just power. It's not that big of a deal. This completely proves that wrong. It's the same exact kind of thing. If I'm going into corners or into a section of course on any kind of race course, wasting wattage, it's the same idea. Your technique is bad at that section and you're not going to go as fast through the course. it's really 1-to-1 when it comes to that. It's just in a different way out on Zwift.
Amen. In talking with Martin, you start to learn, there's 50 different areas that they can look at to tweak things in AutoCAD. And going back, Nathan, to what you said as we take a look at Lane here on the Revo team, making
Nice
this into a
job to
tough
Lane.
race. Yeah,
She's got a gap
really.
here on the rest of the ladies here too. I mean, and she's really putting it to him here. I believe she's number 1 out on course. The Snaith here comes on through trying to get the better of Yilla. And I mean, amazing job here coming from Lane. But Snaith, she's going to grab the second little sprint for points here amongst the ladies.
Yeah, that's Kate Lane that we were talking about there, Nathan, with the Swiss flag next to her name. This is a name I've become familiar with, Janelle Yilla, here on the Dutch Diesel team. So that's the women. We're back in with Paul and the dudes because they've got another sprint coming up here. I shouldn't say dudes because it's mixed. You never do know, right? Julia Shalau certainly proving that. But here we go, Nathan.
Oh my gosh, it's so close.
Oh,
that was so
finish.
Close. Right
Jacques
to the
Griff.
line. I actually might want to take a look at the replay of that
Let's
one.
go
because
back.
That was so close. And we didn't even have the best angle for it, but looking through here, let's go ahead and speed this right on up. Because that came, I thought the interesting thing about this sprint is look at the watts per kilogram coming from Bang Anderson here. He's up into 13s or so. I think 14, 15. I'm thinking he's going to come through first with the kind of wattage we're seeing from him. But I don't think he actually ended up taking it down. And
that's a back-end API all day long.
Yeah, I agree. I think perhaps in the bicycling magazine kit was the one to take it down, perhaps. But that was
the South African. Yeah, and then this is a sector that was pivotal early in the race, but Nathan, not anymore. You see how these guys all make sure they're ensconced safely up in this group. They're not going to play around with any kind of dangling off of the back here. These are some savvy races. Now, if you've made it to this point, you're down to, let's call it a little over 10K and some change to go here. So your winners in the group that you're looking at right now, again, we've got a racing left, right, and center going on right now in our European East. This is our C1 mixed category. We also, and this is our front group here, 41K of racing, 6 laps out here today. The other field, pretty close, 5 laps for our C3s.
Yeah, a little bit, just one lap short there for sure. So,
really?
Yeah, they're coming through actually right now for another lap here. They're going to be doing 33, I believe it is, 33K. So getting close to the final lap to go here. One to go in just a moment for this crowd as they come in for another sprint. Coalition on the front with Stitchberry right now. Coalition, you'll be able to recognize them out in course. They are in the pink kits, and looks like a lot of them are using the pink Trons as well. Interesting, in this category, we do see a lot of teams showing up and battling it out with each other. I did see Herd well represented, Innovation. Wahoo LaCole have been making themselves known in the classics a lot. It does seem like they have a concerted effort. I believe the RWV Riders Without Borders are out here as well, KC. So lots of teams represented, not the kind of motivation like you see in the ZRL necessarily to show up as a team, but they've definitely seemed to have some organization across this category.
Yeah. So, Nathan, what you start looking at is a team exactly like Wahoo LaCole, or who else has got some numbers here, because that might be the difference. I'm trying to channel my inner Anna Russell. I have so much respect for Anna and Kate, but in Anna's case, she does a great job of breaking down how the race was won. And it's not going to be a situation like we oftentimes will see in the ZRL, where we have a team with 3 or 4 riders in a group like this, and they can send a rabbit off the front, force a chase, and then counter over the top of that to set up their sprint and win. Here, it's going to be animal instinct, to tell you the truth, Nathan, in this group is going to get the win today. You're just going to have to play your cards at the right time.
And
I don't think anyone's going to have a teammate that can, you know what I'm saying? No one's going to be able to get a win served up for them here today. You're going to really have to earn it out of this group.
No, they're not. They're definitely not. I think it's going to be a situation where you've kind of got to take the race to everybody else. It is pretty calm here. I think the riders may be getting a little bit into Again, amongst this group here, more comfortable with just sprinting amongst these riders, not
Well,
quite as confident in breaking away. This looked like Hastenbach again trying to make something
and
happen. The KC rider right to the line, able to hold
second
on.
time. So, what does that tell us about the Dutch rider, Nathan? He won a sprint, the first that they had, a premium sprint. That's his second. I have to think now that he is one of your three biggest danger men, along with the Brazilian. And I saw in our YouTube chat a Go Brazil, and I could not agree more. We love seeing South American riders have a presence out here. And right now, Brazil, Argentina are two nations, Costa Rica, Central America, but certainly we've been super impressed by seeing more and more riders showing up, but this is some old school firepower from Halstenbach that we're looking at. We mentioned at the top of the show that he's a 98 kilo machine, 205 centimeters tall. Nathan, it's really rare you see anybody over 200 centimeters. And so this is a guy that is purpose built to sprint out of a group like this.
Definitely want to shout out here. Daz Carter's in the chat. Good to see Daz Carter from BL13. He was in the race this morning, actually, for New Zealand, taking second place to Mashed Potato. Mashed Potato took the gravy and the turkey to the line. He actually had a solid gap over everybody. One thing I want to say, actually, Mashed Potato and his battle with Daz Carter this morning. Now, that is in the C0. It was a very small, very elite group, but it does look like Davies and Gamps are off the front with the 30-second gap. Not something you usually see, but maybe because of the reality of the size of the field, able to maybe break away a little bit. Cool to see, and we'll see how those results end up playing out. Maybe head on over to Zwift Power to follow along with that. But thanks a lot, Dash, for jumping on in. But this morning, the nickname Mashed Potato, the in-game name coming through, he sat in and kept it quiet the whole race, though. Didn't take down too many sprints or anything like that. And next thing you know, the guy's got like a 17 watt per kilogram, right? Like 1,200 watts or something. And where did he come from? And he was just looking for the win out there. I'm wondering if we've got a silent, a sleeper in here. Somebody who's kept it quiet and, a stealth assassin, as chat said this morning. Perhaps we'll see.
He finished with more than 15 watts per kilo, you said?
Well, he has a 17 watt per kilogram kick. I believe he hit in the 16s on stream. I'd have to go back and look.
I love using a name like Mashed Potato and staying in the group. You get to do that one time, which apparently was today. If that works the second time, that's on them for sure. But I love that technique. That's really, really fun to hear.
Just having the name Mashed Potato, I mean, that's intimidation.
Well, I was remembering
101.
There was
another.
There. I remember another potato, but I guess that was V Win, wasn't it? Who raced?
It was V Win because she was saying that the idea, the joke there is the potatoes are the PCs that we're using as well. There's also that. So
she would know her way around a potato or non-potato.
Yeah. We're coming into the finish line here now. 30 minutes to start of the Central. Just so everybody knows, there will be a break in the broadcast because of the long break between the races here. But we are coming right on into the finish. This is the final here amongst these riders. And with only a K or so to go, things are fairly calm. Will we see an early punch over the top of this last little kicker here right now? It does look like, what is he cracking? Trying to release right now at this point, 7 watts per kilogram. It's just bait perhaps, though, from a few of these riders. Nobody really quitting, Dave.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the numbers you have to put up. There's the Portuguese flag arriving near the front as things are starting to hot up, no doubt about it. But Nathan, 100% agree that if you're going to play your cards, now might not be the time because these guys right now are ready to hit out. This would be the time when a possible counterattack might be coming up and over the top. That's going to be Cock that we're looking at there. The Swedish rider moving up to the front, and you can see up and over the top, there is some gameplay happening, some Zwift craft as we're onto the bridge, and this looks like Paul's done it.
Is he going to hold on?
Paul Hamlet.
Is he going to hold on? Right to the line. Bang Anderson trying to come on through. Oh, Hamlet holds on to it, and that's actually one to go here. One to go.
Was that Bang?
One to go.
Mods
Yeah,
Mons Anderson. Yep,
Anderson took
there we go.
second there on through Hamlet, holding on. Apologies on that. That was in with the C1. C3s now coming back to them as they are onto their final. But is there going to be a breakaway situation with one to go? We could see a flyer
That's
here.
what I was thinking. This was your one chance, to tell you the truth. And I don't think it's going to happen. I think we're going to lock this down, expecting to see a reduced bunch sprint, but you never do know. Certainly gets our most aggressive rider, one of them for sure today is Paul Hamlet there. I did not see how our man Florian Halstenbach did in that sprint. Maybe he decided to save the legs for the finale. Would make some sense to me. He's picked up 2 of our preem sprints along the way, but I don't know how you beat the Brazilian today, Nathan. I don't know his form, just seeing, I'm guessing, getting ready for World Elite Zwifter Oral 7's run at Season 4 of the Zwift Racing League, but always a player. Never count the Brazilian out, and he's tucked nicely in that group. There's big danger man, Florian, of the Kirkmeyer team. You'll see the yellow and black jersey for Kirkmeyer. I'm looking to see if there's any teammates there.
I have not seen too many
so.
KC kits. ZRG, a little bit of a go. They did show up with a lot of riders, actually. Zwift Riders Germany. And we also have ZwiftCharts.com. Max here, giving a little bit of a go as well. They got 1 second gap. Wilson is good. It's always really frustrating when you see one rider pulling the whole pack back to you. WLC, though, they've got multiple in there. So that's what's, they do have teammates.
It's a little
that's
more
the
what
thing,
you want to see.
right?
Right.
Look at this.
Exactly.
Though. Smith just used the arrow power up just to hang on. Was that a mistake? Because this was coming back. Oh man, that was definitely an interesting move there coming from the WLC rider. They've got a little bit of a gap. It's not easily coming back, and this might be dangerous right now.
Yeah, Peter Ballant is a rider that we haven't talked about much. He was out there during the early going, the Hungarian. Absolutely a rider to watch for the finale here. I don't know, Nathan, but I have a feeling that the guys that are trusting in the power of the group are benefiting right now. These are the games that we play.
Maybe something was going to stick, but it looks like ZRG is going to be brought back into the fold here. That is a lapped rider ahead. Lapped rider ahead, not a part of the race, as they bring Campbell back into the fold from being lapped out on course. Will there be a counterattack from the Dirt rider? It does look like Dirt making their way to the front here. Paul R. Nope, just making sure he's in a good position. 175 beats per minute as they come into their final K at this point in the C3s. C3s that we're looking at right now. And SZ sitting pretty there, but using a drafting power-up. With all these power-ups being used at this point, you can tell these riders are in the hurt locker. You can't, you're not really appreciating how much pain is actually going on in these riders' legs right now. 181 beats per minute for Max from Zwift Charts. He was just off the front. Here comes Coalition now, 6.5 watts per kilogram. Anybody who is waiting for this moment, trying to come over the top right now, it's about 500 meters to the line, Dave.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you'd rather have someone dripping grapefruit juice in your eye than go through the pain that these guys are right now. This is brutal just to stay in this group. And you realize that staying in this group only really is going to guarantee you that you're going to get a chance to go even deeper and scrape the bottom of the barrel for what's going to be a finishing sprint. Nathan, I don't know how you attack such a high quality front group here. I don't know that it's a crackable code, to tell you the truth. And here we go, lighting it up one more time. You can see Schmidt throwing some big numbers up there on the board for Coalition. He's
going to hold it.
Be enough?
Smith, looks I thought this was not going to happen. I thought he would completely wasted his effort. Made it happen. Hallenbach, I think he got nipped at the line by Vilago from TZP. What a kick to the line. Man, we've seen this time and again. I did not think that was going to work out again. But
this is a throwdown of the Giants, Nathan. Wow.
I was actually super surprised that it was able to hold on to the line there. That was very well timed, well done there from that rider.
Getting it all right.
Yeah, and as you're riding
impressive.
unattached, it looks like here, if I'm not incorrect. So in the replay, I mean, he went from way out. And this is not the tactic that I would use at all. The way that he went here, if we look back a little bit, we'll get back into the C1s in just a second.
It's a little disorganized.
I mean, look at the way, I think the chase group just kind of didn't expect that he was going to hang on. I mean, look where he goes from. I usually would trust the pack to roll through, did not happen today at all, actually. So comes up over the top here, and Smith just kind of rolls off the front. I mean, and then hits the bottom. I mean, he's holding 570 watts per kilogram, and then he just hits the bottom with an aero power up with a 1 second gap or so, and says, "I'll see you later, boys."
Yeah, all credit where it is due. That was a beautiful way to finish that race, and he had enough in the tank to hold them off by a lot. That was not even close.
No, amazing job there.
It's rare,
Amazing
right?
job.
Usually, Nathan, if a rider's able to pull that move off, it's by the skin of their teeth. But that was a dominant finale win there.
Very well played. Very well played by Smith there. And like I said, not at all necessarily the way that I would have went after
Cutting
that.
against
But
the
he
grain.
proved me wrong. Yeah, he proved me 100% wrong. As sorry, we're going to jump on in here with
First time ever they prove you wrong, Nathan. A historic moment.
We've still got plenty of riders here in for this finale with the C1s at this point. Juice now BL13.
And it's not far off.
Electric Spirit Company. No, we're about a K&a-half to go.
Couple minutes away. Yeah.
Yeah, just getting into the final time through the SEs. We do got that little bump at the end, and that is the tactical point we've seen quite a few times where riders have jumped over the top, got immediately into a super tuck, rested in at 57 kilometers per hour. The question is, will the pack do the same thing? And are they going to calm on down? Are they going to sleep on it a little bit? Look at the back here. Backwards cap on. Is that going to be a PO Auto rider at the back? Matt Wheeler. Matt Wheeler, I think, here. Actually,
restart.
In a restart
restart,
kit.
I think.
Yeah, it is restart. PO Auto and restart do have a little bit similar kit in game now. As you can
Matt
see.
Wheeler, a well-known rider, though, certainly respectable, and he's quietly stayed in the scoop. He's trying to pull a mashed potatoes.
Dirt now off the front. Belgium, they're saying that he's bringing the gravy, it looks like, though. 8 watts per kilogram.
Who's
1
the
second
turkey?
gap at this point. 29. Watch these meters, Dave, at the bottom of the screen.
That's fun. Yeah, look at that.
Well, watch how quickly they come down, though, at this point. 10 watts per kilogram from Worm.
See that number come under 10 for the first time, or does it?
Oh, and he uses an arrow over the top. He's all in. He doesn't even, he's like,
All right.
I am going for it. Full upset mode at this point. 57, 50,
Let's call
and
it a
59
2-second
kilometers
advantage.
per hour. Is he going to hold on? Peter Avenant says, no, this has to come back right now. We're not sleeping on this one. He's dragging. He's not dragging anybody. This is completely separated.
blown it
They've
up.
slept on it. They have completely slept on this, and he's
done it.
gone. I don't think this is coming
Wow.
back. The speed's going to be high, but
Remember
it's not high enough.
Yeah, again, remember the field sprint that was guaranteed? Booyah! That was
Almeida
another
for
suicide
second.
attack.
You called Almeida, though. You called Almeida.
Yeah,
For second, though. For second.
Franklin trusted in the process and got burned along the way because Franklin would have won that field sprint, no doubt about it. But that
I'm
is
loving
how
this
you
course,
do it.
Dave. This course.
Me too. That was
Like-
fun. Nathan, isn't that the perfect example, though? You talk about a field sprint, it ends up with a select group and a solo attack in the last K. That's bike racing for you all day long. Absolutely loved it.
And it was with it's that classic, like, it reminds me of Jens Voigt. Like, I'm just going to go
100%.
and see what happens.
Absolutely.
It's a 100% a Jens Voigt moment where it's like, I'm not a sprinter. I can't take this down with the pack, but I'm just going to stick it to him and see what happens.
In the days before Jens, there was a guy named Vyacheslav Ekimov that used to do the same thing and really won a lot of fans. Didn't have the same shut up legs branding that Jens had, but that style of rider is so much fun to watch. And really, think about it. That feeling of a guy holding on with a couple seconds with 1K to go, it doesn't get better in sport than that. Can he do it?
I'm going back to
Can't
the
he?
replay, and this is exactly that, too. I mean, this is exactly like a 1K to go attack. Here, let's go ahead and bring this in. And this is, I mean, if we go through the play-by-play, look at him just kind of roll off the front. And it's like, it's 1K to go.
It looks so easy. Doesn't it look
and
easy?
you're thinking, no way, this isn't going anywhere. This will come back. No, well, you got this. And they kind of slept on it here because it's not like he threw
So this
down
is the moment.
like
that he
11
enters the
watts per
pain
kilogram or
cave.
anything. You know what I mean? It isn't like
Yeah.
he threw down something they thought was worth it.
No. No, as they say, the greatest theft is the one you don't even notice, right? Just kind of slid away with a little sleight of hand win. But with all credit due, this hurts to hold those kind of numbers for that full K out there. Newt is a machine. The dads indoors riding trainers certainly should be very, very proud of this performance here in the Zwift Classics today. We found a worthy winner, no doubt about it. That's Bram Newt, the Belgian rider, posting up a big one here today. That's the way I love bike races to wrap up. Watopia Cup delivers here for our Eastern Europe C1s. We got racing all over the place today. Franklin, good job. Good to have you back. Franklin Amieda, the Brazilian, taking the field sprint, the silver medal.
And we did have results coming on through here. It is going to be, as we just saw, Newt there coming in from the dirt team for first. Ameda for second, followed up by John Worm there from Team SZ. Avenat and third, it looks like, with a solid fourth place. Verdian for fifth. Pack there coming in for sixth. Tunonen there in seventh. Madsbang Anderson settles for eighth. Schultz there in ninth. And Jake Grief coming on through for 10th place, Dave. Go ahead. You were going to say something.
The only rider making under 4 watts per kilo outside of the 10th place rider, Jacques, is Bram. There, 3.9 watts per kilo, showing you how efficient he was. Nathan, actually, there's a real lesson in that, right? Not only was he efficient, but he used his power. It wasn't just one surge. It was a 1 minute effort that was absolutely brilliant out there. That was a rider who really, I don't want to overemphasize, it wasn't like he just completely outthought everybody. There was a huge physical element to that. But I tell you what, the brain power was in full effect. Let's take a look at our C3s we also enjoyed today. Smith taking the win. Same thing, very clever rider there. Villago, we noticed late in the race, very impressive job for the silver. Halstenbach. We'll hear more about Florian, the third place rider. It was Stitchbury for fourth, Grimshaw fifth, Ballant in sixth, Schumann for seventh, Robertson in eighth, Holmeyer in ninth, and Klushinnikov rounds out your top 10 for our C3s there in Eastern Europe. But as we said, plenty of racing still to come. Let's take a look at the ladies here, Nathan.
Yeah, it is going to be Siegel coming on through for first place. Freival in second. Kate Lane there in for third. Gila for fourth. And Snaith coming in for fifth. And maybe a couple more ladies still out on course. Looking to finish up. We will be starting in with our next broadcast in about 15 minutes for the start of our next. It's going to be Watopia Cup Central Europe C1s as well as the C3s for Central Europe. We will be doing the same cats. We're trying to keep things pretty consistent across the board. So you can go ahead and expect. I did see some questions coming on through from chat. So go ahead and expect C1 and C3 across the board for Central and Western Europe. Race starts in 15 minutes. We're going to take a 10 to 12-minute break, and we will see you then for the rest of the European broadcast. If you want to check out the results and what Zwift Classics are about, of course, head over to WTRL.racing, and we'll see you in about 12 to 15 for the rest of Europe. Well, we're going to get going a little bit earlier here as we got to 57
Alrighty.
seconds here to go in this. 1:32 to start, though, to the start of the race, actually, for the C1s. Does look like there's a lot of chatter actually going on in the C1 class here. We do have quite a few women, it looks like, starting in. I've got 9 starters actually in the B pen, which is good to see. I'm seeing some big names. I see a Heino kitten here amongst the boys and ladies with Alice Lethbridge jumping in
good.
here, which is going to make things very interesting. Great to see. Almeida, Frey from Coalition, plenty of chatter going on in here. Great to see. Arsenal R3R and the Chevy Chasers are out here. And Short have showed up with the bag up boy. I mean, I don't think C1 is going to disappoint today.
No, definitely not. Neither does this course. I'm glad we made this change, to tell you the truth. It really does suit the spirit of the racing that we're looking for here. Close to an hour when you look at the 6 laps that some of our racers will be doing. A little less than that when you've got 5 laps out there. It's still super competitive. And cutting against the grain, knowing how your Zwift craft works is going to be a big part of getting the win, if that's possible, out here today. But expect some great racing.
Yeah, and a lot of chatter actually going on in and amongst. BBB have shown up as well. So that new ladies team is out here. This is gonna be a great race. I'm super excited to see how this plays out. They're heading out on course. Let's go ahead and see how things start out as they leave the Watopia pens. Here we are out on the leaving it over to the over toward the Watopia Boulevard here in just a moment. And nice little kick right from the get-go. Dirt Dad WP2, but on the front, 2 guys giving it a go right from the get-go here. 7 West Pecogan, probably just trying to be in a good position. And look at Lethbridge, well-positioned, knows exactly how to do a Zwift start here. It'll be interesting to see if she hangs on right to the finish. It'd be pretty cool to see how this plays out here with Alice. I think she can do it. I think she might be actually a top 10 out here today amongst the boys.
Yeah, last week talking about Alice Lethbridge and saying how, well, she's probably ramping up her fitness for ZRL, but that's not the case at all. I'm going to think that Alice is firing on all cylinders right now. She's been doing some in real life racing, and this is most likely the sweet spot for her. So I'm always going to be a fan. A top 10 prediction sounds almost conservative to me, Nathan. I'm putting her in the top 5.
Luis Gamps from KRDT. So we do have a Toyota
Or
KRDT
no, I'm putting
versus
Luis Gamps
Hino.
in the top 5.
Toyota KRDT here versus Hino on the day for the women's field. Great to see. We also have a rider that does not have a name attached here, but is hanging out in an R3R kit with Johnson. And so I'm assuming riding for No Pins R3R in the kit here, but H. Johnson, we'll have to do a little bit of research here. And in and amongst this group, 167 beats per minute right now. Is that Vicky Nealon? Nealon now, though, not hanging on. That is not like Vicky here. Going off the back a little bit. So interesting to see the Hino rider already in a little bit of trouble. Mobs, it looks like Serhagi, Teresa from BBB. So it looks like it's going to be the top 3 rolling away with the main crowd out here today so far.
Wow, this is going to be really fun. I expect Vicky Nealon will find her way back into that group as well as a savvy racer. Is this her in the red jersey just motoring back in?
It's actually
Or
going to be
actually,
a
that
DZR
might be,
rider, Danish rider
yeah,
here.
that is, you're right. So she's just now coming back with another rider here. That's Vicky Nealon we're talking about. So 3 big names from the pro women's peloton jumping in with this group. So the race that we saw earlier split early. Actually, it was like voting in Chicago. It split early and it split often because they kept whittling that group down until we finally saw a perfectly played roll of the dice for the win there. So I wouldn't be too surprised if we see an aggressive race out here as well, Nathan. It's always interesting how things play out in the first couple of laps. And also remembering we've got our preem sprints out here to look forward to, 5 of them before the finishing sprint for the guys out here on lap 6. And women, I should say. Guys in the royal we sense.
And as we head out on course, we are going to be in with the C3s as well for this race. And they have just jumped out on course. As we head into our first lap, it does look like off the back, it is going to be a race. Johnson unable to hang on. I thought she was in for the long haul, but she's going to go back to the main group. So it's only going to be for the ladies. Actually, McKinley has made this. One rider I missed out on course. Did not spot her. She is in the Strava kit here, actually. A. McKinley. That is going. Lethbridge is here. We've got Luis Gamps and Andy McKinley riding unattached. There is actually no team in Zwift Power either. So maybe a good pickup here for anybody to watch out for. She's got, it looks like 242 races. No attached team, which is an interesting situation there for 242 races for Andy McKinley. Coming out of the United States, veteran rider. See how long she can hang on here at the front end of this pack here. 170 beats per minute. Maxing out the heart rates up in the 180s or so. So she's got a little bit to work with still here, but I think she is definitely at that threshold.
Yeah, she's got some nice numbers as well. Talking about Andy, the American out here. So, all right, things are all over the place right now. This has been pretty typical of our starts out here today. You can see riders getting tailed out of the front group. Baguette Boy. There's a name that's new to me. I like that.
Oh, yeah, the Baguette Boy riding for Insured. That's got to be, I'm not sure.
You got it.
We'll figure out who that is in game here. Lethbridge again toward the front. Looking pretty calm and savvy, right where she needs to be. Gamps is in there as well, so it is going to be a Lethbridge versus Gamps situation. Toyota RDT versus Hino. Got a pre-set up here between the two of them in something to watch out for, I think, in ZRL Season 4 as we head there, for sure. But at the front end of the pack now, Perry, it looks like 2 guys. Everything's going to calm right on down as they head through the seaside. This section tends to be where riders take a little bit of breath after the initial attacks through that sprint section. There is a chase trying to get back on terms a little bit here.
I
4
bet you they
seconds
do
back.
get back on terms, actually. Yeah, a
McKinley
little
there.
organization.
Savory
This
is
whole
in
group
here.
comes back.
That is interesting to see. That Savory would be back here. Is he having a chill day out here today, perhaps?
Or, you never know, a little hiccup there during the start procedure, and now catching a break, I would say. Savory's a big name that's going to be riding back up into this group. I have to agree. I see Matt Wheeler in the YouTube comments, Nathan, talking about you got to favor the Watts monsters on the downhill finish, and heck yeah, that's absolutely true. And a reason why we might not see Gamst or Lethbridge in the top 10 today, because it's all relative. They're certainly monsters, but some of the, it was relatively fitting that winning the bunch sprint for the men earlier was Franklin Almeida, right? One of the guys that can really put some monster numbers up on the board. It's going to be another Evo rider we're in with. Bob O.B. Not sure how one would correctly pronounce that. Yeah.
I see Zach Neer in the live data, but where is
he was
Zach
signed up
on
for our
course?
previous race, but I never saw Zach, so I assumed that he didn't take the start.
Watching out for the next kid out there, because if Neer's in this race, watch out. I would not be surprised if we've got attacks left and right out there today. Now, through the second half of this, too, there's Zach actually right to the front where he needs to be.
There you go. This is a team that was so much fun to welcome into the fold with the ZRL, talking about next real quality riders on this team, including Ashton Lambie. But Zach, a coach, and does some great riding for Velo, and very, very impressive athlete in his own right here. Right where he wants to be in this group here in the early going. Should note for everyone just joining us, again, we're back out here for 41.3K, 6 laps of racing for this group. We'll be in with the C's as well here. This is the C3s. This is the C1s that we're following along with. A couple notable women jumping in the mix as well. Alice Lethbridge, we mentioned, and Vicky Nealon, Louise Gamst. So who's who out here today? There's the insured rider, Baguette Boy.
Under 20, Baguette Boy, 122 races, A-plus rider. He's got a 1,321 5-second sprint. 382 at 71 kilograms. This guy, watch out. Like James Morris riding for insured pedal power is a absolute beast from what we're seeing here coming out of
It's always a good sign when you've adopted an alias as well, James. You know what I mean? Mashed potatoes, Baguette Boy. This is where our champions are coming from today. So certainly keep an eye on Baguette Boy.
Absolutely can fly out here today. Be on the watch out for Baguette Boy here. Now toward the front is going to be the Dirt Fury, though, on a little bit of attack. We got the few jerseys that look familiar.
Nathan, do you think we got riders doing back-to-back races here today? Jacques Griff, the South African, is he back?
I would
for another
be surprised.
go?
I have seen quite a few riders sign up for doubles.
It's certainly not impossible.
No, I've done that for training a lot of times, 2 to 3 in a row. It will definitely kick some good fitness into the legs. You know, you do see that a lot of times in real life crit racing, right? Somebody will do the Masters race, and then they jump in and do the Pro 1-2s, etc.
You ready for this one? Lead Boat is this weekend, where the Leadville Trail 100, which is 107 miles, I think, of racing above 10,000 or above 3,500 meters. And the next day, there's about 100 folks, including Pete Stetna, that are heading over to Steamboat, which in itself these days is a 3-hour drive, I would say. At a minimum, 3-hour drive from Leadville over to Steamboat, and then doing the Steamboat gravel race, which is another 100+
Tetrick was going to do that as well, wasn't she? I saw that Tetrick, I think, was going to.
I don't know if is she doing both?
I
Yeah. Oh,
think I
well,
saw
that's
something on an Instagram live. I was watching her Instagram live a little bit, chatting about her training. I believe she said she was going to do back to back as well.
that's
So
incredible. Yeah.
yeah,
Um,
I
yeah. So
was like,
there you
wait,
go.
what is that a thing people are doing right now? Like, oh my gosh. So
Just
Stedna,
when you
I mean, if we get double back to back like winners or even podiums off of that though, that's going to be such an
that's
amazing
not
feat here.
that's where I get myself in trouble, Nathan. But I would say that is not possible. Um,
Oh, all right. We'll see how it goes here. We've seen it in Tour de France. I mean, we've got some
yeah,
TDF
give
type
give
riders
it
though,
5 years.
right? So
Give it 5 years, and someone will do it.
somebody
I,
will do
I,
it
I
now because Dave said it.
yeah.
Alexander, WLC. Here we go. This is another go at it here as Dirt now. Is it going to be a little bit upset? Looks like they've calmed things down on over the kick. We saw it in the last race. This is the section where you can try and make something happen with a little bit of a super tuck into a punch, but Linden's going to get the jump. And I think he's got quite enough of a jump at 15 watts per kilogram. He's got the space, 69 kilometers per hour. Alexander, the rest of WLC. Hasim, though, maybe going to chase down. Nope. It's going to be second for Hasim as Linden gets the
Wow.
time.
Look,
Linden, this is a learning lesson. We have seen this time and time again. If you come over down the bottom of that with a gap, something's changed up a little bit here too, I think. I think the rush of the
this
pack with the drafting dynamic has changed a little bit because my experience is that does not work the way we've seen it working. And I think some of the pack dynamics have changed how fast the pack can come on and rotate through on top of itself. So
there's
definitely
a
can get some jumps.
there's a saying in crit racing, Nathan. When in doubt, lead it out, and it is truer than ever out here today. Go early, be bold. It's been paying off.
Well, the final corner, right? Top three, or
Yeah.
you're done. I mean, you're
Yeah.
coming into the final corner,
Absolutely.
depending how close to the finish line. But even then, I mean, if even 300, 400 meters out, at least top 5 to 6, because you try and come around, through there at the speeds that you're going. So I think we're seeing something
So
very similar here in this final corner.
it's pretty easy, actually. Position yourself well at 1K, attack, be a watt monster, and you'll win.
Pretty easy. Oh, just find yourself at the front.
You don't
of
have to be a genius out here.
You don't have to be a genius. The kind of fitness it takes to get there is a whole nother story.
Yeah, but you become a watt monster, right? Yeah, good luck with that. So
A little bit of
yeah,
attack. This is an
there's
attack
a
here
lot of
from
riders.
Ader. He's trying to catch them off guard here, it looks like. Actually,
Nathan,
there's some riders off the back, too. That's why. He is
that's
not
going to be the
allowing
name of
this
the
to come
game.
back.
I completely agree with that, and we're going to see more and more of that. The Zach Nares and company are going to continue to make this a tough day. Eric Haugen, I see the no pins rider, Lucien Didot in this field, and I see the Japanese flag with Tsutomu Iwabuchi racing with us today. That's awfully nice to see. But we mentioned Jamie Morris, another one of the insured riders out here that's going to be active. This is as international of a field as it gets. Welcome to the Zwift Classics as we're seaside today. And what a lot of folks have been calling a sprinter's course is turning into truly an aggressive racer's course out here. That's fun to watch.
Jumping in with a little bit of attack off the front. Another situation, same thing again and again. The catch, and I think riders are learning. I think they've been watching this the broadcast and going, "Hey, this seems to be working." These attacks off the front and that last section through the pack is sleeping. Scout ends up taking this down. Solid attack from him and grabbing those points on through the line there. And let's see if I can figure out. This is gonna be Gregory riding for Racing Without Borders, actually. In his Zwift Power profile. He's got the MGCC on. Coming from Kerbati, actually, is going to be the flag that we're looking at there.
This is our C's? C3s?
C3.
There we go.
Kerbati, do you know about Kerbati?
I do not.
Ocean, out in the Pacific Ocean. Independent island nation, actually. Republic of Kiribati is an independent island nation in the Central Pacific Ocean, actually. So I wonder if he's actually riding out of Kiribati. Kiribati. They use the Australian dollar and the Kiribati dollar actually in the Oceania.
Is that right?
Yeah.
I have to say, this is the first in my. I was
119,000
this many
people.
years old when I.
Population of 119,000.
And you say it's off the coast of Australia?
Well, it's in the Oceania, Pacific Ocean, actually.
So that would be, that
It would be off the, it'd
part
be
of the
somewhere
world.
near Australia. It'd be somewhere near there.
Like the Cook Islands are down there. 119,000 people.
Half of them
make
live
up
in the
country?
capital, actually, of Tarawa. Last check was the World Bank in 2019 said 117,000 people.
In the time that we've had this conversation, they've lost 2,000 people.
Oh gosh.
We dropped. Was it 119? So they must have.
119.
So
yeah. Well, it's two. I'm getting two different statistics.
two different
here.
Sources.
Yeah, no,
Right.
it's the same source actually. Just saying the same. They're two different things actually. So, which is interesting. But 119 and 117 are actually from the Google search over here. Wikipedia bringing those in.
And that was Gout that you were talking about, correct? The rider from there?
Yeah, the rider who took down the sprint there. Here he is. G. Gout. He's riding with Riders Without Borders.
You know what? That's funny. That flag just catching my eye. It's a beautiful flag, actually. So, well, welcome, Gregory, and thanks for the knowledge drop, Nathan.
259 races for Gregory. Team TFC Mad Monday series. He won on the 9th, which would be yesterday. And
odds are decent. Odds are decent that Gregory is Irish.
Wouldn't be surprised if he's riding for RWB, right? So
right. We'll figure it all out. But that's it's always great, isn't it, Nathan, to meet someone new in the community, and that's a good hello. How do you do? Winning a sprint out of this group again. This is our. Today, we've moved now into our Central Europe group, and this is the C3s, super active right now on the front. Looks like they're about to split this front group again here.
Super duper fast missile for the USMES. He's got a pretty awesome setup here, actually, as he's on that Venge with the deep dishes here.
So, United States Military Endurance Sports Team makes with even more sense flag. With the super duper fast missile.
With a UK flag. Interesting enough. Let's see if
that's a little concerning. Yeah.
Let's go ahead and jump back in with our C1s as they're going to make their way through the SEs for their second time. And 14K in. They are racing for a total of 41K out there. Dirt Fury on the front, 7.7 watts per kilogram. A little bit of push from the Canadian, it looks like right now. A Dirt. Moreno trying to chase it down. Perry, the Welshman, is going to not allow that to go much of anywhere. Chevy Chasers are making the chase there with Weekly. And it does look like, though, this has been whittled down yet again, Dave. 26 seconds is going to be the gap. And the punch over the top here of this section has over and over again separated the group and caught riders out for that sprint. Wahoo Cole trying to give a go, it looks like, at the front. And might catch everybody out, actually.
There's no truer saying in racing. Across the board, then racers make the race. This is Johnny Alexander of Wahoo Cole making the race right now, Nathan. But I think you'd agree with that. You know, no matter what you put in front of them, the racers will figure out a way to try to find what their advantage is, put their competitors in trouble. That bridge tells us we're into the final few meters, and they're going to come over the top of Johnny Alexander here. This is a big surge from DZR rider. Excuse me, that's going to be Swedish Zwifters, Linden. There. Is it enough? It sure was.
Hasim again with the timing.
He's all over it. Hassan
second
Hasim.
Across the line. Second across the line again from WLC.
Speaking of Ireland, yeah, the Wahoo Cole rider is going to be tough to beat today, isn't he?
Real tough. The guy, he's got, I mean, if he can just hang on, he's got a monster sprint, but his timing has been a little bit off, though. So, and they're going to want to drop him. He's the rider that they could drop, though, if they continue to put the hammer down. We saw it on the Everything Bagel, right? but there was a lot more climbing there. I'm not sure going to be able to get rid of him on a course like this.
I don't know that you drop him. Yeah, I was going to make try to make a funny joke about it'd be easier to quit smoking cigarettes or something, like dropping a bad habit, but you're not going to drop this guy today. Alice Lethbridge, you're my hero.
Still here.
Yeah. Nice to see. Again, I don't know that the finale suits Alice particularly well, but man, she's an impressive racer. I would love to see her baguette boy as well, doing a fantastic job out here as the Frenchman now. A big dig.
Look at how calm it is in the pack, too. They're not even chasing. 3 seconds on a downhill. 5-2, steady here if he stays. Are they going to... Now, this is the moment of truth. The moment that it comes down off that 2% gradient and then gets into the flat, smooth pavement, that's the moment of truth. Whether or not he continues on. Gray here, NZ bro, he just don't even care. He's like, I'll pull the whole pack up. But 4 seconds now. He's matching the power. He's not actually doing more. 44 kilometers per hour. Looking Gray here, 43. Now, I wouldn't be worried, but you could set up a bridge on the 2-tier. And if Baguette Boy has the power continuance, but he's going to have to put in a solid effort.
We've got way too much racing ahead of us to be at that point. I think this has got to be an invitation.
I'm liking it, Dave. I'm liking it.
Well, I want some riders to go across.
He is. I want some riders to go across. Oh, Baguette Boy agrees with us. Please come across to us right now, Alexander from WLC. Kicking 7 watts per kilogram. Another WLC rider here looking to go across. They've got a gap here, and this is the danger moment because if they do send a few, and they get a few off the front here, but the question is, I think this pack is going to respond with a lot of orange numbers once they start seeing enough bodies off the front. Once you start seeing the threat like that, then everybody gets a little bit more excited. And he's still got that gap, though. This is a section because now anybody who gets caught out got some burritos. That's going to cause no drafting. This is a danger moment for people who might not be able to hang on, Dave.
It's not so much about a breakaway as it is about riders getting shelled here because this is going to get very, very aggressive as they bring that back into the fold. But this is where you got to worry and stay on the wheel. A little gap turns into a big one very quickly out here.
Nobody really interested, though. They shut it down and immediately looked the watts per kilogram. They just came right on down. Which,
I think that speaks to what I was saying. We just have so much racing ahead of us that all the work that it takes to build up a 5-second, 7-second advantage, even if you have a couple of riders with you, you're burning at a high rate when everybody else is cooling their jets back in this group.
We do have a couple of power-ups actually being blown at the front. We've got a coalition rider here throwing down an arrow, which tells me he's in a little bit of trouble. Lethbridge just hanging on the back here.
I think he's getting rid of it. I think they're just getting rid of it.
Interesting to be using an arrow power up through there.
On a negative.
What would you want instead? What would you want instead? I mean, like the burrito there from Near, he's not using that for any. They don't really want the burritos, right?
I was going to say that's not really a super desirable power up, is it?
No, the burrito and the truck, both of them, not exactly what I'd be looking for. I'd be after an arrow all day long on this course. So.
I would agree. I don't know what your point is well received. I can't see any reason why you'd want to get rid of that. But also that rider wasn't struggling. This is not a do or die moment right now.
Marcus Illingworth letting us know we all take turns pretending we have some sort of a sprint out here today. The chase is on from the they're not coming back though at this point. 51 seconds back there. And the ladies though, this is the race for third, I believe, out on course. Neelan, Terhage, Johnson, Mobbs. I believe there is one. McKinley is in between here. Where is Louise Gamst? And here's Louise Gamst in the chase group. So that's actually the race for fourth out there, as she is in and amongst this third chase group, Lethbridge in with the leaders still. Ewig did fall off pace, it looks like. So those attacks, they weren't for nothing. They were able to whittle it down just a little bit as we end up with 26 riders. Baguette Boy suffering, it looks like, for a second. Only Baguette Dude actually here coming through. It looks like at 150, he's actually just calmed things right on down.
Yeah, no panic, but it does show you here that I think we're done with the whittling down process of this group, Nathan. We found the level, and these guys have all made it there, and women, I should say, is Alice Lethbridge holding solid as a rock out here. So through the middle part of the race now for our mixed field, 6 laps today, 41K.
Speaking of the
Good for
type of
Alice
talent we
Lethbridge. This is a
have,
great sign for she's been a winner in the ZRL. Took a nice win in season 3. Part of the greatest esports team that I've ever been aware of. Heino has been incredible throughout the not only ZRL. They go a lot deeper, a lot further back than that. And Alice has been a cornerstone on that program.
loving the chatter coming
Classy
on through
rider.
here, letting us know. Keith Robertson, I really appreciate this as we are completely being educated here right now. And Kirabas is how it's pronounced. Keith Robertson is letting us know. So thanks a lot, Keith, for the help there on the country in the Oceania there. What is happening
See,
here? Isn't
Matt Wheeler talking about in 2022 every kid is greenish blue. That's my worst nightmare, Matt. Not that I don't like the look; it's a great look, but I had enough trouble telling the difference between PO Auto and Restart through the last season of ZRL. 2 great teams as well.
And they're going to be coming on into their next sprint out here. Near's been fairly quiet out here so far, surprisingly. Maybe just looking for a win.
He's
out
saving
here.
it.
Well, there is
I
a
have to
reality
think.
also amongst this crowd because this is a top level crowd here. Zwift Power rankings are at play. So, first across the line at the end of the day on the race today does matter for the rankings because of who is showing up here. We got Hagen, Holt,
So
Near.
right, and I think, Nathan, it's worth noting that what applies in real life racing of using a criterium as an example, and this is not that different today, what we're doing, than a criterium as far as efforts go. And, going for the preem or bonus sprints is a great way to dull your sprint for the finale. And here we go, another one of the preem sprints happening, and that's going to be Hassan Yassim here, the Irishman. This time, I don't think they get him. So he picks that one up. But I 100% follow along with what you're saying there. I think Zach Neer is being smart and saving everything for the finale, which is what you would do in a traditional racing sense. And you explained quite well the value of why it would make a difference for Zach to try to get those points. I think you hit the nail on the head there.
Yeah, keeping his powder dry, I think, and looking to make sure. A lot of times you'll see
best result
riders,
possible, right?
kind of trying to figure out throughout the week as well what race to show up to and how to find the most stacked field in order to get the depth because Zwift Power rankings are based off of depth of field. And so if you show up and get a solid result, speaking of Alice Lethbridge is going to get a pretty amazing result here amongst this crowd as well, racing in amongst the men. So great to see, and we'll see
That's
how she ends up
question
ranking
I
up
have.
against them.
So, Nathan, in this mixed field with Alice here, how much of a difference does it make for her as far as being ranked against the other women, getting a result with such a high level group of men?
That's a good
If you
question.
follow
Actually,
me.
from what I've seen, I think it ranks based off of everyone in the race. Actually, that she's amongst for the Zwift Power rankings. Martin, can you give me a nod if you have information on that and how it works? I can bring
That's
you
a
in.
little complicated, isn't
Yeah,
it?
he actually knows.
Yeah.
Martin, go ahead. Let us know how that works over on ZP.
So, I obviously don't know the full ins and outs of the algorithm, but Zwift Power, in terms of how ranking points are shared out based on who beats who, etc., is pen or
Well, we get Martin
category
on board.
specific.
The question then really
Well,
is
we have him.
without-
Sorry, Dave. It's across A and not master. My bad. A little bit of background there for Martin. Go ahead.
As I say, it's pen or category specific. It can be a bit confusing in Zwift Power when you look at the category against the rider. So in the A race, the racers are ranked amongst each other, and in the B race, the racers there are ranked amongst each other. There is no crossover. So yeah, if Alice beats Lacey from Coalition, and there's ranking points to be shared, it won't happen because they're in separate categories.
Ah, got you. So it's based on the pens. So that's why in some races, when everyone mass starts out of one pen, like an Alp to Zwift or something like that, I've seen some of the top esports, riders actually. V-Win, I've seen, Kristen Kolchinsky, a few others that are big climbers. They would actually look specifically for mass start Alp races or Ventop races to get a high result. And because they're all in the same pen, then it does affect the ranking. Is that going to be, am I correct about that, or am I off there?
No, that's my total understanding of it.
Yeah,
Most
got it,
races
got it.
are broken down with culling turned on, so you don't necessarily see the other riders. I mean, the
But the
setup
ones
we've
that
got
do
here
not separate
allows.
the genders and stay in the same pens, then the rankings do get affected. So that's why they would be looking
Correct.
specifically to compete against the men there who might have a higher ZP ranking. Gotcha.
And
So
that
here,
would move them up
Yeah.
against the women.
yes,
Like Alice's
exactly.
result
Yes.
will move her. Yeah, okay, great.
But this
Well,
is
good for
only
her.
going to be against the women, though, here, I think, because I'm not positive here with the culling or not, though. That's the part that we actually do not know. I'm not sure if we can call that right now.
Gotcha.
Because this
It's
is not a called
complicated
race.
world. Yeah, I mean, it really is interesting. The more you learn, the more you have to learn. But one thing is Zach Neer here. Excuse me. That is going to be Zach here in the green that we're looking at on the Tron bike, and he will pick up.
This is
those
not
points.
messing around. This is not messing around. That's not for points. This is an attack.
This is an
A
attack.
2-tier.
It
Full
has
gas.
to be.
Yeah, Alexander looking to come across here. 8 watts per kilogram. I've done this exact same thing, and this is a moment where you want to do it, because if you can open up a gap going into the SEs and get enough of a gap coming in there, they won't close you down through those rollers with the pack here. And these are two athletes that have crazy high watts per kilogram. And they are dangerous, super dangerous. Kay Gray can see that.
These are really so when you talk about fortune favors the bold, clearly these two are being very bold right now, talking about Johnny and Zach, the two riders off the front. I think smart money is probably on this group back here, but that is a big play with 15K of racing remaining here. This will be the attack of the day, no doubt about it.
They've got 5 seconds. The question is, does it continue to go out here at this point? They're outside of the 50 meters. And
it's worth noting how much effort it takes just to get these 5 seconds here. Because look at the numbers.
Monstrous. Yeah, now Zach's backing off. 4.3. He wants this guy to come through. I wouldn't be surprised if he starts seeing an elbow. But Johnny's probably suffering too much to even pull through at this point. 4.9.
Well, and is Johnny sitting on for his teammate? So he's got Hassan Yassim on his team, who is one of the best sprinters out here. On paper, should win if this group sprints to the line. So if I'm Johnny and riding for Yassim, I'm sitting on here. I'm not going to help Zach.
Racing with Men has very different chat. Alice is letting us know as Neil continues on here. And yeah, you're right. I mean, there is that
you get what I'm
reality
saying,
that all he cares about is just to cover the move, and then everybody else has to chase. And Yassim can just sit in and watch everybody chase things back. It's only 5 seconds. They needed a little bit more than this. And Zach is probably a little frustrated at this point that Johnny did not help him out at all to increase that gap. It's gone out to 6. I don't know if they're going to hold on to this, though, through the SEs.
Yeah, but it's all Zach, right? And so what is happening, I think Johnny is the vibe killer in that breakaway right now, as he wants to be. So this isn't that he can't pull through. It's that he's doing his job. He's doing it perfectly. He's right now cover and kill, as they say. Well, he effectively is a wet blanket being thrown over the candle.
I just saw Better go to the front and close and shut it down, though, just now. I just saw Better head to the front and go to 3.5. I wonder if WLC actually wants to let this go. They're going out. The chase isn't really on. They're out to 10 seconds now. Near continues on at 6 watts per kilogram, and they're at 3. This gap is growing now through the SEs, where it should be coming down.
Until you see Johnny Alexander take a pull, that would change things in my mind. But he's sitting on this. This is all Zach. I mean, impressive from Zach, no doubt about it. As a matter of fact, I mean, at this point, you have to start, pulling for Zach. He's showing so much heart right now. But Johnny Alexander, if he comes through, I'm going to be stunned.
I don't know if he can come through.
Oh, he can. He can. He's not.
Zach,
He's using tactic.
3. Let's see here.
100%, he could come through and take a pull.
Yeah, max heart rate 183-ish. Alexander's at 172, so he definitely can do something here. Holt now on a little bit of a punch. And this is the section where they're going to bring him back if they're going to bring them back quickly here.
They don't need
this
to.
is the sprint.
They don't
Near
need to.
now.
So,
8 seconds, continuing on.
If I'm directing a guy, let's say, Hassim, right now he's got a teammate sitting here, Wahoo Lakul, but right now you're loving this because Zach Nair was your biggest danger guy coming into the last 5K. So if he wants to play his cards now, I would let him.
61
going to bridge across. Now, Zach has got to love this. This is what Zach needs. It's someone who wants to come and work, not someone who wants to come and hang around and sit on.
Holt's going to get the better of this here. They're going to shut down that.
And don't get me wrong. I'm not blaming Alexander. I think Johnny Alexander's technique here is spot on perfect.
Near going back on through 6 watts per kilogram. They still have a 5-second gap. That pack behind them is going to shut it down in a moment, I think, unless we see some roll through with the speed. 56 kilometers per hour. Near still 48.
Eric Haugen.
51. Haugen. And this is the moment because they have 5 seconds still. This is the moment right here because this is when everyone's going to start thinking about, I have to rest after the sprint and think about later in the race. Alexander pulled through, but it's only 3.4. I don't feel like it's really much of anything here that he's putting out effort. It's almost like he wants to
he just did a fake me out. Well, exactly. Yeah. Like he set a false tempo, which is even worse at this point now, I'll stick to my guns here. This is Johnny Alexander just trying to cover and kill this move from Zach Nair, and he doesn't need to kill it. This is the slow, steady, Chinese water torture of how you end a breakaway. They don't need to cover it right now. They've got 11K left. So if you don't want Zach Nair to be a problem for you again later, let him do this a little while longer.
I don't know.
Zach Nair is one of the strongest riders out here today. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, and it looks like Alexander's just shut it right down. Near's saying nice job to him, saying, okay. I think that's actually out of frustration. I don't think that's a real nice. I think that's more of a, well, thanks a lot.
Oh, no, that's sarcastic.
Yeah, 100% sarcastic. Nice job, not. Like, we had the gap. Why didn't you work?
Thanks for pulling. Not.
Yeah. Like, wow.
But you see what I'm saying? Johnny Alexander did his job. I'm saluting him. You can, if you're Zach Nair.
I don't know.
I
just get the feeling there's a read in there. I'm not sure. About that. I don't.
What about he covered and killed that breakaway? Is not.
He may
clear.
have. He may. I don't know.
Why would you ride all the way up there to not pull? Would be my question.
Yeah, we were talking about tactic versus the skill of the rider out there, and I don't know. I want to know what happened there. I'd like to get some background there, but maybe that's what they're up to. Maybe they really want to seem to take the win.
They've got the best sprinter in the race, and that was their biggest danger man. So you cover that move, you sit on, and the chance that Zach is so strong that it goes all the way to the line, well, then you've had Johnny Alexander sitting on his wheel and should be able to outsprint him for the win, and it plays against Zach that way.
Good call. Good call on that. Yeah, 100%. That's a great point, actually. So that's looks like what was going on there. The breakaway desire in me is just being shut down. That's what's going on.
No, and I get it. You know what, Nathan? You have to admit, like, you're a romantic. Like, you love the breakaway, and I love that about you. But the pessimist or the devil's advocate will often tell you exactly what I just did, is that effectively
I
covering
personally
that.
don't get it. I do not.
You would hate then watching the Dutch and the Belgians race against each
The
other all
director
year.
sportif in me is like, well, take a poll, make them, if you guys get away, good for you, make it happen. But if it's all about just all those chips in the Yassim basket, I'm not sure if that's like the best call. But okay, cool.
I do. See, I guess I'm old school. When I have an advantage like that, if and he's clearly having no trouble staying in this front group, I'll go with the Irishman on Wahoo Lacole all day long. I would take him if we were wagering on this in Vegas. I would take him over the entire rest of the field. Hassan Yassim.
Yeah, in the sprint, I'd have to agree with that one. I do have to agree with that one. He's definitely got the numbers to show. We'll see if it does get an upset. Near is the danger,
and he looks good.
So.
And it's not just looking at him in paper, right? He's been riding very well. He's picked up a couple sprints out here already. The guy, when he flexes, he just goes off the front.
R. Smith now on a breakaway situation here. He's got 1 lap to go. Doe's trying to take this down. It does look like Kirchmer is going to be coming over the top, though, with Abraham. It's not Kirchmer. I mean, it's a Kirchmer kit, but he's got Bike and Shore in there. And KC. NKC is in there as well, B4. So 5 seconds for Smith. Look how quickly that gets shut down through these sprint sections. It's such a danger, such a risk to try and go off the front on this course. But he's got 4 now. If they close it down, or if they shut it down with the chase, again,
he's channeling his inner Zach Nair here.
Yep.
And so this time no one's covering. He's not getting any help. What you really need here is 2 riders who believe in the break and want to ride with you and participate, and everybody swaps pulls. That's at this point, that's where we'd be looking for sure. Just a little bit of help.
4 seconds, not enough to hold on at this point here for Smith. Team at Type 1 family member as he rides along on the 858s with the Venge. Speaking of Dutch, from Alex Stankovic saying, racing, if you're commenting of in real life, Dave, most races end up with a breakaway. Alex's claim is throwing out in the chat there. I'm assuming Alex may be coming from one of those countries. A little question there on Zach there. Question for HR monitors for the classics. Martin, you want to comment for us on that requirements in the rules?
For HR monitors, well, the Zwift Classics, obviously, the prime goal of them is the testing, checking data stability and all of that kind of thing behind the way AutoCAT works. We are not enforcing heart rate monitors and ensuring that disqualifying people post-race for not wearing them or technical issues or anything like that. There are some minor settings in place to remove people from podiums, but that's as far as it goes.
Gotcha. Thanks a lot, Martin. So yes, we did have a question coming on through from Matt Wheeler. And so that's going to be based off of traditional Zwift Power and old school, a lot of the general settings that go across Zwift Power races for a lot of the organizers. But every organizer that puts an event on in Zwift has their own rules that do get set up. And for the Classic specifically, not definitely required. But other things in place to make sure.
But for the podium? Is that what I heard?
I think for the podium, making sure that the
I thought I just heard you had to have an HRM, a heart rate monitor for the podium, though. Maybe not.
Yes. I'm seeing a yes here from Martin. Seeing a yes.
Okay, so that would mean that the answer then is that he does need an HRM if he's going to win.
Gotcha. Yep. Sounds like that is the truth. I was actually off on that. So, all right, hold here now. On a little bit of attack here, 4% gradient. This is going to be that little bit of a bump that we've seen each lap where some riders have been able to try.
This is a big feature here, Nathan, isn't it? This little bump.
Oh yeah, this is like where you can really get a gap. Here. Yeah, and as you see here, 57, 58 gets into super tuck. If you don't do that jump off the front, you actually do not get into Super Tuck until almost the bottom of the hill, but you can actually descend half the hill if you jump early at the top. DCR being chased down by Nielsen, it looks like.
And you
Klaus
see
Nielsen's
that it's
teammate.
really, if you time it all perfectly, it's really just that last effort comes right as you hit the beginning of the bridge and come out of your Super Tuck. That's a man we've been talking about quite a bit.
He just got
Hassan
nipped at the line,
Yassin.
it looked like, by Linden, interesting enough. Again, the timing. He's got the numbers. I'm not sure he's got the timing perfectly with one to go here at this point. Will we see a counter over the top? If anybody wants to take a flyer, this is going to be the moment.
I agree.
As T-Better, WLC,
Here's your window.
shuts it down.
Nothing better than a strong team. And Nathan, the previous race, I was talking about how riders didn't have this luxury. Wahoo Lacole putting on a performance as a squad out here. If Hassim wins, this is it didn't just happen with one final sprint. There's a few moments where the team has been brilliant out here today.
Absolutely. And they have completely shut everything down they have needed to. Hassim on the back here, exactly where he needs to be, resting up. The Baguette boy is given a go off the front for Insured a little bit. Insured here, and this is a serious move. Anyone over 5 watts per kilogram on the front with a gap is not just sitting around. This is intentional.
Now, that's a lapped rider, isn't it? Just up the road.
Yeah, it's going to be Teresa, I believe, from the BBB. Actually,
gotcha.
so
Not a lapped rider, but different race. Yep, exactly. Yeah. So this is going to be the vanguard, the front of the bike race, one of the danger men, Baguette Boy. No doubt about it, but that's quickly brought back into the fold. They're not messing around here as we're out on the last circuit.
I guess I will wait. He's saying this gets brought back here. I want to chat a little bit. You know, this Team Type 1 rider, he's been off the front for quite a while. He kept it with
this continues
4
on.
seconds, but look at this, right at the time. The timing, bring them back right when they need to, and it's all set up now with about 2.5K to go. Gout, too, has had a really solid sprint on him. We'll see if he can do it again, as he took down some early sprints, actually, here. As far as the favorites go, this is going to be the C3. We've got Gout, we've got Lance, we've got Dose there. R. Smith has been off the front for quite a while here, now up in the 4.2 watts per kilogram to try and just hang on, though. That's a lot of matches burned. I think he was off the front for almost 2 laps there as he comes in this final couple of K. It'd be amazing if he's able to take this down. Goes again. Smith now. Interesting to see now. The KC rider, though.
With the draft power up, huh?
I think he was maybe concerned he was going to fall off the back, actually, for a second. Now a little bit of a counter. We've got 3 off the front. And actually in the C3 category, we've seen these brakes late in the race work like this.
All right, this is for the win, isn't it? I'm just realizing that this is C3's. So this is going to, correct me if I'm wrong, but this should be
final lap
coming into their final sprint.
Van Erck here.
So
LAQP.
A little over
now.
a K to go. We're really at the red kite would be right about now.
Yeah, L'Equipe
1K.
here now. Stages the Dutchman here now, 180 beats per minute. He watched it earlier with the Dirt Rider, but is a little bit too early. Lindqvist now, SZ trying to shut things down, will roll through with the rest of the pack. He's within striking distance still. Are they going to sleep on it? We saw it from the Dirt Rider earlier. 3 seconds here, Dave. This is danger. They've shut down a little bit. 3.6.
It's enough, isn't it? Yeah, still ways to go. This gets very, very interesting. As all of a sudden you start thinking, well, the advantage that the group has, it looks like they're going to start pouring it on right now. Van Erck here showing a lot of courage. If he can hit the bridge with the second in hand, he's got a shot. But it looks like that might be a little too much. Well, you never know, do you?
Needs one last kick right here. Usually Gout now 17 watt per kilogram kick real quick. They're up in the 44 kilometers per hour. They're going to shut him down. There he is. He's within sight. Lapped Rider's coming on through. And I think Gout might do this, though. This may be the upset situation. Will he get into that 57K quick enough? 6.4, 5.6 now, backing off a little. He's trying to get some rest. That might not be able to make it happen, though. If he backs off too much, he's got some. Wow. He's got the gap here. We saw this earlier. Will it happen again? The pack is sleeping, or they just don't have the power, but they have a little bit
This
more
now.
of, they're together a little bit more here, though. Gout now continues, though, Dave.
Here's the bridge. I mean, I think he might have it. This is going to be Gregory Gout, the pride of Kiribati. Nathan, we've got it coming from a nation of 117,000 people in the South Pacific. Gregory Gout, you are a legend. Boom.
Lance, it looks
What a
like
win.
in for second. Wow. And
you did it.
This over and over again. The sleep, I think they're waiting too long. They're waiting just a little bit too long to open up the sprint. They have to open up the sprint actually before they hit the bridge. And a lot of riders are just waiting for that bridge section, and it's taking them out of the race.
Yeah, well, I tell you, fortune favors the bold. There's my man, Hassan Hassim, Wahoo Lacole, Nathan. I highly touted him. Let's see if he can deliver out of this group. They've weathered the storm. There's a few riders that are going to be champing at the bit here.
What happened here? Like, riders falling off left and right, it looks like.
Technical. Oh, boy. Let's see what we've got. And Zebro, nice to see that team represented here.
Holt with this is a move. This is he's not messing around. Holt is not messing around here. This is actually a go at this point. Ader now covering it there. WLC does not want a rider to go off the front. They're trying to support Hassim, I believe, at this point, and that's why they're covering everything that goes up the road.
Yeah, they're smart too, because this is going to be dangerous. This has got the alarm bells ringing, and you can see now there's no wiggle room. So we're into the finale for our C1 men. This is going to be an absolute Donnybrook from here on in, Nathan. They're going to run out of real estate very, very quickly. So they do get up onto that wheel of Holt.
Now Johnny Alexander here to the front. 6.1 watts per kilogram. Near's just following wheels at this point. And WLC, they are just trying to shut anything down. Ader goes right onto Holt's wheel. Holt, frustration, brings it back a little bit. Not brings it back, but shuts down his attack because he can see Ader's just going to sit on his wheel. WLC are just going to get the advantage at this point because he's not going to pull through. He's just going to sit on and let him work and win the race if he pulls him right to the line here at this point. Look at where his seam is. Just sitting, third wheel, not doing anything, not putting his nose in the wind.
I mean, if they pull this off, this will go down as a absolute teachable moment in esports on how to ride as a team. But again, they've got to close out the deal. So much work has brought them to this point. Talking about Wahoo Lacole. Can someone upset the apple cart? How about Alice Lethbridge hanging tough all day long? Alice is in the sweet spot of this group. Alice, you remain my hero. No doubt about
Zach
that.
Near's looking to get the upset here, and he's getting followed very quickly by. He does not want to go to the line with his team, and this is the move.
This is huge.
This is what he has to do. It's an arrow power up from way out. The timing is perfect.
He can do it.
55, 56. There's the 57. Will he rest now? He's going to try and go down to 0 watts per kilogram. Actually, no, he's not. Awesome. He's just continuing on at 6.6. He don't even care about a Super Tuck. He's got it. It looks like the gap is there. There's the Super Tuck 63. 3 seconds. There's no way.
He overcomes an entire team out here. Wahoo Lacole, he attacks earlier. They cover it. He attacks again, and this time he delivers. Zach Nair,
easily,
you are outstanding.
Easily,
this is
just
incredible.
Gone. Next esports, show us the next level. Hassim hogging for third, but what a move by Zach Nair.
They couldn't hold him back, man. That was
amazing.
Really incredible, Zach. Yeah, that really was. I thought that Wahoo Lacole, they used everything they had to try to neutralize him throughout that race, and Zach is able to overcome that. That is one man going up against an army and winning. That was the esports equivalent to the movie 300 out here today. That
was
something
amazing.
else.
Well played, Zach. Very well played. Extremely impressive, actually. Very cool to see. We will have results coming in here in just a moment.
Isn't that classic?
Minutes.
Because Wahoo Lacole does all of that work, and they win the field sprint-ish because Zach completely upsets their apple cart out there today. One really strong rider with a tremendous amount of heart, Zach Nair. You win the day, no doubt about it. And Alice Lethbridge, salute.
Huge ride from Alice. That was pretty amazing, hanging in amongst that crowd there, and great training. Obviously, she's ramping up for 0.
She's a monster,
and getting it done. Let's go ahead and take a quick look though at the move from Zach. It was pretty. You want a
And
lesson in that? That you said it. You said it the lap before too. This section of course, this is crucial. This section of course, and it absolutely was for the win here. Actually, up against a Wahoo Lacole team that seemed like they played every card absolutely right.
so the one thing they missed was this move from Zach. And I even have to say I might have underestimated a little bit after that big attack that he made. I didn't expect him to have this much in the tank. We're going back and looking at a replay of that moment. You can see Zach in the green and black jersey there, just leaving the group right now. He deploys his power up, the arrow power up, and this was all she wrote, Nathan.
Yeah, absolutely
That's
done
the,
at
that's
that
the bike
point.
race
Just
right
gone.
there.
Just gone. Quick little fifth. Look at the watts per kilogram. I'm going to speed it up a little bit though. But the kind of kick and the speed that he took into this, and it was at the perfect moment where he could get the most separation. Look where the most watts per kilogram are given. They're given right at
No one was drafting
8%.
him.
8%,
No.
14 watts per kilogram. That's what made the
They don't
race
even
for him.
respond. No one can even respond. I mean, he just so Zach Nair is a coach and is considered, in the young minds in the sport of cycling that are really setting the new standards. Zach is highly respected. This next team that he's on has been one of our favorite teams to watch. No teammates here today. He goes up against a very organized Wahoo Lacole team that had on paper the best sprinter in the race, and he's able to win. He didn't surprise anyone, Nathan. This was pure talent today from Zach Nair.
Absolutely. Amazing job here from Zach, and really great to see them taking down the W out here today. So great job on them. And we do have the start of the C1s here in about 3 minutes or so for the next race. So we'll hang out with you here through that. Hagen there comes through for third there on the day. We'll start getting some results to come on in here as well in just a second. But C1 Western Europe, we do have a couple of ladies jumping in. It's mainly, it looks like we've got, does that say invalid? One of the names in game here says invalid.
That sounds like a real gamer, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Invalid.
yeah, 100%. So
those are your people.
It looks like Luis Gamps and the situation happening there with Lethbridge versus Gamps. We saw what ended up playing out there. So Lethbridge showing that she's got the fitness right now to go up against some of the best.
And Luis would be some of the best as well, no doubt about it. Well, I heard during the Olympics the term iron sharpens iron. We've always said steel sharpens steel around here. But either way, these racers jumping in with the men really speaks to their commitment to finding another level. And both Alice and Louise will benefit greatly. Let's take a look at our results here. Zach Nair. So different than what we saw earlier, Nathan. It's fascinating how bike racing works because previously it was the lowest watts per kilo in an incredibly conservative and well-timed effort. Zach Nair, that was just smash mouth bike racing from Zach. He goes in, the one serious move of the day. They're able to, talking about Wahoo Lacole, they cover that move and eventually neutralize it. Zach times it perfectly to go again and take the gold medal. It was Hassan Hassim taking the silver, Eric Haugen for bronze. Then you got Johnny Alexander, fourth place, Morris for fifth, Nielsen for sixth, Carson for seventh, Better eighth, Otter ninth, and Moreno rounding out our top 10.
In with the women, I think we may not have all of them across the line, but our top three, Alice Lethbridge, Luis Gamp, and Andy McKinley coming on through for our top three out there for the women in the Central Europe C1s.
I suspect that we hear more about Andy McKinley, Nathan, in season 4 of the ZRL. That's a name to write down in pen. Watch her trajectory.
100% seems like, at a top level, obviously, she was able to hold on. So right in there with Gamps. Now Gout with the representation, he ends up taking it down. Great to see from Carabas out in the Oceania region in the Pacific Ocean. It's going to be Lance there. Sorensen followed by Abraham Van Erck, Ulrich Lindqvist followed up by Martin Hedegaard and Dose for that DZR team, rounding out the top 10 in the C side. Sprint for the C3s in with the Bs, Robertson, Cheng, Grindheim, and Watts. Is that going to be Donna Watts out of the USA? I
It
believe.
is.
1 second back.
That's correct.
Nice race there coming in from Donna. And we are out on course here. Our C1s have gotten going. And you had a question about this, Dave. And this is, I mean, if it, maybe
I'm a little scared.
Frustration. Now, is that? We've got some interesting names showing up out here for our next race. I'm a little bit surprised, actually, but I believe Hasim has jumped back into the race out here today. So, can't win
Said,
one.
I'm going to win a bike race today, no matter what it takes. I'll just keep racing until, yeah. What I thought our turnaround was quick, Nathan. Literally, I don't even know that he had time to go grab a fresh jersey.
Yeah, pretty amazing actually here to see. Nice job jumping right on in, and that's just a quick hey, just make it happen here, and jumps right on in as you see him now. 4.6 watts per kilogram currently coming from
That's
him.
a good catch. That's impressive that you noticed that so quickly. Because I'm pretty surprised actually after that effort, and he did win the field sprint. It wasn't like he had a bad ride. It just that's bike racing. Yeah. It's a rider that I'm going to be really looking forward to getting to know more. I see that
Chris Uberti is
move
here.
up to 7 laps. I see. The C0s are doing 7 laps, but we're in with our Western Europe C1s and C3s.
Yeah, this is a pretty stacked field, actually. It does look like Next Esports have shown up with Near again. But Chris Uberti
Zach is racing again as well. So our top 2 are back.
CLS is in here as well. Wahoo Lacole, AHDR, Western Europe here with a pretty stacked field.
Caleb Carl is racing.
Is he in here? Oh, yes, Team Skylab. Yeah. So
yeah, Skylab.
Vanden Bosch is here from Team CLS.
Matt Wheeler is back.
Pretty. This is about as fast as it gets. I would even say that this crowd, perhaps, is a level above what we just saw. Now, some of the riders, though, obviously going to be a little bit tired after racing the last race here, but maybe in support of some of their teammates.
I'd like to get a crack at Zach Neer after he's raced 14 or 15 of these. He'd still crush me.
Real quickly here, something just to point out. This is kind of cool.
Charlie. That's fun.
Charlie's
which
in
field
with
is
our C3s, actually. Eisendorf. And Eric Schlange is here. I mean, this is like a who's who situation happening as Eisendorf makes his way forward.
2 of my favorite people. Yeah. Charlie, for those that don't know, Charlie Eisendorf is the race director and a legend, absolute legend. Rode for the GS Mangoni team, part of the New York cycling. I mean, to call it a scene is underselling it. What happened there in New York, this is where George Hincapie and Rich Hincapie, they came out of New York. And Charlie's DNA is American cycling for sure. And no surprise to see him. It's been a while, though, that I've seen him out racing.
Yeah, it actually has. I haven't seen him in a Zwift race in quite a while. I've seen Eric here and there. So good to see Eric Schlange jumping in from Zwift Insider. The man actually who helped get this Rebel route into game. He's actually, this is where this came from, was Zwift Insider promoting this. So
I first heard of Zwift. The very first person that introduced me to Zwift was Charlie back in 2015 when Charlie was there from the ground up and certainly helping build this, what esports is today. And it's such an exciting time to be involved. And when you look the history, Nathan, and you're obviously the same thing, that the DNA of what we do now is completely. People like you and Charlie helped build all of this. So much respect for that. It
I
doesn't
think
look
the
like much fun.
2015, I think we both got phone calls around the same time. We're doing this tour. What was it? The North American tour, Zwift tour in North America, right? And there was and
Exactly.
getting on the microphones doing KOM competitions, and me and you were swapping on them. I think that's
It
how
was
it
so
was running.
fun.
It was great.
Yeah, I was always
It was
looking
great.
forward to meeting you, actually. And here we are today. It's been really an incredible last 18 months being involved with esports. Taking a look at the front of the race right now, Nathan, this bridge tells you it's sprint time. This one playing
Oh,
out a
this
little
is
more.
interesting how this plays too, because we gotta figure out the tactic here. Because did you see that the group was able to swell enough speed through there and catch somebody who had a gap off the front? So
First
it
time we've
really is
really
about the
seen that
speed.
happen. Well, and the
Yeah,
group was bigger. The group is larger too.
it comes down to if they're willing. At the end of the day, it comes down to if they're charging that speed on the downhill, or if they're all just watching each other, expecting it to just be free speed. I really think that's what it comes down to here.
Well, I think you just hit the nail on the head again, Nathan, because I think what we witnessed throughout today was a lot of riders banking on getting free speed that never showed up, right? Or expecting there was more there than there was. And that's why we've seen rider after rider holding off that group, but not this group. There's Eric now that we're just in with, and we'll have a chance to talk about Zwift Insider and what an unbelievably cool resource that is. As a matter of fact, I'm looking up right now at my Watopia poster that I ordered off of Zwift Insider, Nathan. I love having that. And Eric is just a tremendous asset to our community.
Yeah, if you want to check out any of the latest information, always updating almost on a daily basis, Zwift
He's
Insider.
incredible.
Yeah, make sure to head on
I
over
saw
to
him
Zwift
talking
Insider
today.
for all of the articles actually that release all the latest information on anything to do with Zwift.
You know, Nathan, we talk about peak Zwift season and, how it ebbs and it flows. And it's really unfortunate, to tell you the truth, that right now we've got so many friends in Northern California and Oregon, even here in Colorado, that are riding in, or Utah. I saw Charlotte Backus, our friend, talking about that, riding indoors because of smoke, because of all the wildfires. And I'd imagine same thing for Greece and Turkey right now, where the fires around the globe have been just brutal again. So you hate to hear of that's the reason why people are getting inside on Zwift, but at least they're able to ride and look after their own health. This is
Yeah,
really aggressive racing, Nathan.
watch out for Caleb Carl without a sprint, but I wonder where his fitness is at. Had a horrible accident actually coming into the summer.
We saw Caleb racing. Was it a couple of weeks ago?
Last week. It
Maybe
was
even
just
last week. Right.
Yeah,
And
and
yeah,
had a
he
good
was
result.
not far off. Yeah.
No.
Yeah,
And if he's
I was gonna say
building some
top five.
fitness, yeah, if he's building some fitness, but this is a rider. He's got. I wouldn't even say a wind up sprint. He can wind up pretty well, but it's not a serious kick. So he is a rider who wants to get away. So I'd be watching out for that. That Caleb is going to maybe be an instigator if he has the fitness to do it right now, and I think he
So
might be coming around.
if you're Caleb Carl, you're really wishing that we hadn't watched riders do what he's hoping to do 15 times already today. Right? Caleb would love to pull a Nair in the finale, attack it at that pivotal spot there, about 1K out. But you got to think there'll be a lot of eyeballs on him. I'm thinking of that eyeball emoji.
What I'm wondering is a rider like you, Birdie, who's got an insane VO2 and sprint, and he's really just a crazy all around rider. But having Christy Birdie in here really throws a little bit of a wild card in the mix of everything. So are there sprints every lap? Yes, Chris, there are sprints every lap. Most likely watching the broadcast.
Chris is. Did I tell you what Chris does for a living? Have we discussed that here?
No, not that
He's
I
an
remember.
aerodynamics engineer for one of the major American auto manufacturers, which they take it incredibly seriously. Right. I mean, aerodynamics and fuel efficiency. And if you just think about, I couldn't imagine a job that would have a type that would be much better than what Chris does for Zwifting or cycling. He really understands all of the different metrics at play out here and is a fantastic racer, no doubt about it. And one of the most dangerous guys out here, without any doubt. Both he and Nair would be, I mean, you are flat out insane if you let those two go up the road together. That's for sure.
He's saying that
Throw
he's just
Caleb
saving it
Carl
for
in
the
there.
final sprint. Interesting enough, but we'll see if that's just kind of, a little bit of tactical conversation there coming from you, Birdie. We'll have to wait and see, but definitely, if you Birdie saves everything for the final sprint, I mean, I did I believe the Movistar Challenge with you, Birdie, in there, and he was on the front, and then I just remember thinking,
He's
this
a
is
machine.
impossible. I just remember thinking, this is the most I've ever suffered on the bike, and he's just on the front, literally typing, like typing in game.
He's an incredible guy, no doubt, and actually backs it up in real life as well. I see that Han Little knows exactly the eyeballs that I'm talking about there on the live chat. Thank you, Han, for picking that up. Swart in our field here, the dirt racer. This is stacked, absolutely stacked. So, Nathan, are you going to call me crazy if I start touting Hasim, the Irishman from Wahoo Lacole, again?
Not at all. No, I think he may be a little frustrated, and I do think that a sprinter like him can save it for another kick. He won't have as high as
and his
kick,
fitness depth. Yeah.
But I mean,
agree.
Here we go, 13 watts per kilogram, and
right on cue. Thank you.
It's not 1,300 watts this time though, so it's not going to be the same kind of. I mean, eventually the ATP runs out, right? Eventually the glycogen stores, they start kind of coming lower, and you can't keep on giving your best sprint over and over and over again. But he's still going to have that neuromuscular turnover, and that is still going to be a threat in this. If he can time it well, he's still a threat for the win.
The classic meme for what you're talking about would be a rider who I just love, Wout van Aert, right? When Wout was trying to cyclocross remount, he ended up finishing third at Strade Bianche a few years ago. But you could see that he was right at that moment where there was zero glycogen left when he was basically, struggling to remount his bike in the last couple 100 meters. And it speaks to how empty the tank is for these riders to win at, well, I'll even say this level, because these are some incredible cyclists that we've got out here. We're going to jump in. It looks like, Nathan, with the Charlie's group, the threes right now, they're doing one less lap than the ones that we were with a moment ago. But believe me, it is as competitive, and a very select front group has come together. Charlie hanging in there like a boss.
New kit, Black Celebration month in game. If you guys haven't seen this before, it's one of the first times I've seen it out on course here.
That's the first time I've seen it. That looks fantastic.
Yeah, great to see. It is,
stands out.
An unlock. It definitely stands out. So, rider out of the Netherlands, Nguyen, throwing down with that. Smed making his way to the front. We were seeing a little bit of chatter coming from Eric Schlange, letting us know that Smed is the top ranked rider in this field right now. So get a little bit of TV time, perhaps. Nguyen knows he's on stream right now and going to the front at 9 watts per kilogram, or perhaps also just trying to catch them out as he's seen this work time and time again. But you got to get more of a gap than that, as Osborne again brings us back. And I get a feeling that this C3 crowd is covering moves a little bit more. They're a little bit more interested in making sure nothing goes anywhere. And I'm not sure that this tactic's going to work the same way.
No, I'm completely on board with what you're saying, Nathan. It looks like a lot of riders here are hoping to have a sprint for the finale of this race. And the way they're racing, I think they're going to get it. But we do get another look here at BG and the GTC, the Glasgow Tri Club. It's going to be enough. Although,
Smed. Timed it.
Just
perfectly.
Nice.
I think he got him. I think Smed got him there. Faber for third for the Rhino team. They got a gap. Schlange now trying to come on through, perhaps.
Smed knows what he's doing out here.
Will this pack come back together? There is a gap here. I don't think this is coming back. They're rolling.
I do, just because of the distance of racing remaining. I think that they.
Look at how many there are, though.
Let's watch this,
Uh,
Nathan. Let's watch this
it's
for a
coming back.
K.
It's coming back. It
Yeah,
is coming back. You're right. Well, I thought it looked like on the
we'll
front here they were
see.
going to calm right on down, but it looks like they are interested in bringing this back.
It's just such a, it's a risk reward thing. With this much racing
Here's
ahead
what's
of you,
happening, Dave. I'm not in the race, so that's not because
and
if I were
let's
in the
just be
race, I
honest.
would be on the front, like,
Oh,
hey, we got a
can you
gap, let's
imagine,
go.
Nathan? Can you imagine a race that had 60 of you in it? I mean, it would be absolutely
I get yelled at a
bananas.
lot. I'm not trying to like toot my own horn here or anything, but I get
And I
yelled
think
at a
people can
lot
hear.
in Zwift
Well,
actually when I'm in the race because I attack so much. Like they just go, what is even
and
happening here?
And Nathan, how many times in the hundreds and hundreds of races that we've done together has there been a small gap open up and you are immediately into this is a break, let's go guys, we're in a break, let's make it happen, because it's mindset, and it's a beautiful mindset to have. So you race from an optimistic, let's make it happen perspective versus so they call it negative racing. And it's real, believe me. It's something that you see all the time in American criterium racing, where you have so many riders that believe that they can win the sprint. So they race for the sprint and they never are willing to work in a breakaway, or they shut breakaways down immediately. And your style of racing, your passion, makes for a much better show, makes for a much more exciting race to be a part of. And it's impossible for me to get down on that. But if you are stone cold about winning bike races, unfortunately, the tactic of using up other people and not participating in breakaways pays off more often than not. It's kind of sad.
I agree. I agree with you on the road, and then but in a mountain bike race, obviously totally different. But in Zwift, I think that it's 75% that way. Yeah, I don't know about in between. I think it's 75% toward what you're saying, or not halfway. But I think there's a little bit more opportunity in Zwift if you time it right, do the right things to really put people on the back foot if you know what you're doing with it. So maybe there's just a little bit of like insider information mixed with the desire to just make something happen and not sit around and wheel suck all day that comes together.
Amen.
There. But definitely, I think that there is a little bit more opportunity to make something happen here in the world. But also,
Nathan,
where I'm jumping into races, though, I may not be racing, though, at some of these levels, though, that we're seeing within the classics here. I am jumping into A category races, but I don't necessarily have the reality of Jassim, the reality of Nir, Uberti with us. You know what I mean? If there's enough powerhouses in there, it is just going to get shut down pretty often.
And how about the dynamic of when you have a team that isn't just one strong individual with three other riders wearing the same jersey, but rather four very strong, synced up riders, or more than four even? It changes everything when you have riders racing like a team. And cycling, at the end of the day, is a team sport. Is esports racing a team sport? Heck yeah, it is. Are you kidding me? I mean, a team makes an incredible difference out here at this level. How could you argue that?
I want to really quickly highlight Morrison out on course. I think the sole...
Is that Jamie?
Yeah, I believe it may be the sole female rider actually in this race out here. And big shout out to her hammering away out there in the C1 category, actually. So
we've had a few women standing out as exceptional today. I also, Nathan, while you're doing
Sarah Morrison. It's going to be Sarah Morrison. She's coming out of New Zealand, actually, it looks like. Level 18 Zwifter and only 9 races, actually. So pretty big accomplishment coming in here.
Well, I'm going to say that she must have some real life experience.
Watch out for this rider. I mean, I'm looking at the numbers here, and if everything's right here, this is somebody to really pay attention to. Harris on a little bit of attack now. Here we go. This is the moment. Again, we've seen this time and time again, but it's only 6.2. It's not a near attack here. Will it be the gap that's needed? It's only 9 meters. He's going to lean a little bit more than that to keep this pack off.
We looking at a group getting strung out, which really speaks to a big effort being made up here on the front. We were talking about that yellow jersey. That's the Friday criterium. And Harris, they're full gas now onto the bridge. Can you imagine how terrifying it would be sprinting over this bridge? And that's going to be the Wahoo Lacole rider trying to come up over the top. And it looks like he's going to do it.
Birdie
the Irishman
said he was saving his. He said he was saving for the final kick, and looks like fake this out a little bit here.
He's doing an opener.
Just doing a little bit of an opener. Carl off the front. That separated things. 15 watts per kilogram from your birdie, and next thing you know, 3 or 4 riders just shed out the back here at this point. 4 seconds,
which is
be VCRT. Uman. Cox trying to get back on terms from Velo Club with an arrow power up. I mean, this is mayhem after that sprint.
It ain't pretty back there. It looks like they're going to be able to weld this thing back together. There's Latimer, another one of the Irish riders, making the day exciting up here. No doubt. This is your front group, not even to the middle part of this race. It's been an elimination game out here with these huge efforts being made, Nathan. Jacques de Grief is back again. Oh, excuse me, different de Grief. I apologize. I was thinking of the South African version. There's always that Dutch-South African relationship to remember. We're back in now.
The timing from Haber here, not exactly what you would need. He's only got, 24. He continues on. I thought he was going to be brought back pretty quickly, but he did time a little bit of a kick. But look at how quickly they just roll right on up to him here. 44 kilometers per hour, 43, 42. So he does have some speed, but look at how much effort he has to put in just to get that little bit of time. The difference is 2 watts per kilogram versus 7 watts per kilogram for just 2 seconds, making it very difficult on this rider from the Rhino team.
Yeah, and I mean, this really does speak to the power of the peloton out here. When you look at, we talked about that a bit today through as we've worked from European East through Central now into the West here. Is you pay a price for these efforts. And when you see a rider do what Zach Nair did earlier, which was attack, have someone cover that, hang out there for quite a while, certainly made a statement with that attack, and then come back and do it again late in the race and win, it just speaks to an incredible performance and a depth of fitness that it's hard to even imagine. But holding off a group like this in esports is such a massive challenge.
Yeah, Hyber continuing on here, and this is quite the match.
He's a Rhino, got that going for him.
The whole book is being burned, it looks like, at this point. Now down to 6 points, and it was backed off for a moment. Now kicking back in. Not really going to get into that chasing. 57K. Eisendorf is on the front here for a moment. I wonder if Charlie's got some summer fitness going on here. This is good to see.
Got some stoke. Yeah. So we just aired World of Zwift, which shows you Central Park, which is a world that I absolutely adore. It's one of my favorite places to ride. Actually, I think Central Park is my favorite place to ride now on Zwift. And, Haber's going to hold him off. Timing that just right.
Surprised me just a little bit, actually. I didn't think he was going to. So,
and there's the Danish rider, Smed again, Nathan, who was up there and certainly a man to watch for the final, but we got a ways to go to get there.
D Wells, AHDR, now on the front. A little bit of separation happening. It's going to come back together. The only damage will be the riders that were being inattentive at the back. Johnny Rocket's in here as well. Good to see Johnny riding for Fred AF. And it's been a while, actually, since I've seen Johnny. I watch out for Johnny in a sprint. He's got a solid kick. And he may be just sitting in waiting for that final kick to the line. But Johnny Rocket with the C3s now.
You know, I think that we're seeing this bizarre world now where some of these racers are coming back to us with some in real life fitness that they're excited to use and race on Zwift here. And it's always nice this time of year to see names like Johnny Rocket showing back up or Charlie Eisendorf out there today is super fun. As we take a look.
A comment coming through about a great chat happening about the AutoCAT system in here, so we do appreciate everybody.
Matt Wheeler's on fire today, by the way.
Wheeler's on fire. He's all over the chat here. as we come on
I'm a
into
fan.
20K in with the front end of the C1s at this point. And they've calmed right on down, though. For a moment there was a little bit of a split as they went through the 2-tier, but still 20K to go. And riders not super interested in trying to make any moves at this point. They've kind of seen how quickly things get shut down.
You know what I've learned from today, Nathan, though, is that you're right. They're not super interested right now, but at some point they will be. In no way will you see a group sprint with this entire group together. Or at least I can't imagine that. With the way these racers have been using their Zwift craft out here, racing is moving into a new era in 2021. Some very, very savvy racers who know how to play the game. They don't just make power. We're so far past that exercise contest era. It's not even funny.
Ryder, you were chatting a little bit about Lee Griffiths out here, Welshman, riding for Wahoo Lacole. He's about maybe, I wonder how this is going to go. Is this going to be in support of his team or not? Level 4.
Wahoo Lacole has really got their act
together.
Ironman.
Griffiths he's actually an Ironman, it looks like, or at least he hangs out at Ironmans because he's got it in his picture.
Hey, I'm not an Ironman. I just hang out at them. But better than nothing.
Wahoo Lacole have shown up. That's for sure. It's one thing
they really have.
That Bill Dobson is also out here, and they have been on a recruiting streak lately. It seems like Dobson.
I first heard of the brand Lacole when I was over at Worlds in Harrogate, and I was really impressed with the quality. And that is a brand over the last couple of years that has come on gangbusters. Super, super clean style, and it's great to see them with Wahoo supporting this team.
I didn't realize how many riders were in here from their team. They've got
like 6
at least.
Right?
Like we've got
4 in this group. Yeah,
Bragensky is in here. John Bragensky, we're on now. Wahoo Lacole, administrator and Pro-Am Elite Racer team manager, actually, is Bragensky. He's a USAC Cat 2 forever. Resurgent Racer thanks to Zwift. Principal business and engineering consultant. He's on a Wahoo version 5 with Garmin Vectors, it seems like, and a Garmin HR monitor.
He's in the front group. His team looks awesome. I'm going to give him Racer of the Week.
Yeah,
Bragensky getting it done.
This is the guy behind it. This is the guy behind it.
Yeah.
Well,
we're telling you what a great job the team is doing. It's your organizer.
The contact. If you go to the About Us, though, the funny thing is the contact is Tim Fulford. And that's about as old school as it gets. Not as it gets, but it's pretty old school that Tim Fulford used to ride for Vision way back. Great to see Tim still involved over at Wahoo Lacole as well. So
I see Darren Green. Darren Green hipping us to the fact that Wahoo's been boosted by some ex-BRT riders joining the team. So that's an interesting tidbit. Bolt Racing has seen some changes, sounds like.
Heading into the sprint again here. Will Uberti go for it again? Near even to 12 watts per kilogram. Giving a little bit of a go. Said he wasn't going to do this, but here we go. Yasim challenging. Will it come to the line? It looks like Yasim, I think, has got the speed
That's
for
your
it.
1-2 from an hour ago.
Look at Carl. He's making me eat my words. Taking third for a rider that usually doesn't have a sprint. Caleb Carl. Great
Chris
to see him back
up
on
there.
the seed. Uberti, I mean,
Nathan,
one of these times, if
first
they
5 riders,
roll off the front, with these 5 riders, I mean, they could just kind of start working together, but they got to get a pack, and I don't think it's going to happen. And Harris will shut it down. TFC, they would not be interested in that.
So I almost felt like it was a Premier League race on the front there for a moment when you look at this little danger moment happening. Oh,
if they wanted to, they could
rider.
split this right now if they really wanted to, but they don't really have. Yeah, see right there, Hoax is saying, "Come on, make this happen," but it's too late. They just are not on it. Well, that Harris using that burrito.
Your window is. Yeah, but look how small your window was there. That's some really good example of how bike racing works.
Hey,
you had about
Nate.
15.
Nate, I'm with you, Nate. Thank you. Thank you. We've got something. We got a thing going on. The same name, same idea. What's happening here? Move it at the front, boys. That's what I be saying. Why aren't we going? Go ahead, Dave. Sorry, I just had to jump on.
No, you know what? It's funny how I'm recognizing there is the yin and the yang of bike racing, isn't there? You know what I
Oh,
mean? Where one says push, another says don't, and it goes back and forth and back and forth, and it makes this sport just absolutely beautiful to watch.
little bit of an attack actually happening over in the C3s as we're back in with it. This is where we've got Eric Schlingy from Zwift Insider sitting in right now, 20th place. He was one of the front wheels. See how quickly you can go straight to the back in Zwift racing, just like in crit racing, Dave. It's very similar. Haber again. This guy just continues. This is his thing.
True rhino. What a rhino. Yeah.
Just continues to charge off the front. And
Reckless abandon out here.
is it going to work a second time is going to be the question. I mean, he rolled the dice last time, so continues to, and he's smart too. He's not wasting effort in the sections where you don't really need to. You can keep a lot of speed actually at certain sections and then just punch over the top, roll through, punch over the top. And it looks like though this time around they said, no, Haber, we're not going to let you play the same game. You're coming back into the fold.
They know that old trick. He's been aggressive, though, taking a look at a group that right now, 5 laps, 34K. So starting to move into that mode of looking at the finish. Our man Charlie still riding up on the front here, having a fantastic effort out here today.
2 laps to go. 2 laps to go after this lap here. Now it's going to be Vander Koes there from the Netherlands trying to give it to the front 5 watts per kilogram. Haber continues to lead things out, and he may just be a lead out man
This
if
might
they
be,
hold on.
Yeah, this might be, Nathan, the first real group sprint that we see today, the way these guys are riding. I'm starting to believe that possibility exists. We've seen so many riders with late race attacks just timed perfectly. Is this going to be, there you go. There's another rider hitting out with authority here.
And get into 70 kilometers per hour that early, right down into that 2% gradient kick there. There's a little bit of a bump at the bottom there. If you come over with a little bit of speed and a kick through there,
here
you
comes
can
Smed.
hold.
Here
It's not
comes
going to happen.
Smed.
Glasgow's gone.
They won't
the
get it.
timing was perfect there. Smed. Curry almost. I think Smed held on there, though. And
Wells jumping up there again. The Australian having a strong ride today. If it does come down to a sprint, you got to watch out for the Aussie there.
I hear Eric Schling has been pretty savvy lately in his sprints. We'll see if he's just playing
He's
his
stepped it up.
cards.
Yeah, Eric is definitely finding another level.
What is he doing with this RPM here, Eric? 107.24 RPMs. Holy cow. He's spinning to win here at this point, or at least just hold on. As where's Eisendorf here? A little bit more of a grinder here, it looks like, with Charlie.
Old school Charlie.
Keeping it quiet.
Charlie, when Charlie was racing, Nathan, this is a classic. His bikes would typically have a 4253 on the front, which is still big by anybody's standards, but he would use a 1219 on the back, right? I mean, think about how this man has spent time on just huge gears his entire life.
A lot of force and power in the legs that
yeah, I mean, just
that way.
That
Huge
muscle
amounts.
memory, what you get for riding 20,000 miles a year for 30 years of your life. More than that, even. Charlie was a top, a 10, as a 10, 11, 12-year-old. Charlie was out there racing. He was one of America's top juniors back in his day and went on to have a long, fruitful professional career in a real heyday of American racing, to tell you the truth. I mean, there used to be a big money criterium every weekend in America going from April until October back in the 70s and 80s. Way more racing.
That you were talking about with force work and like just sticking it in a big gear and grinding. I think that's something that, it's not forefront
it's load.
in the general public training spaces quite as much anymore because you did have this trend, which was true, that you do reserve a lot of energy, and there is a place in racing where you do want to keep your cadence very high in order to reserve energy. And it is more efficient, but There's also something to be said in the training of the legs, though, when it comes to just being able to grind out a big gear and where you find that speed and power, and it is something that I think hasn't had quite as much of attention. So that's a great
Well,
point there as
I
well.
always you can reference, the front group climbing in their big chain ring on climbs that most people would be in the lowest gear that they had on their bike, and these guys leave it in the big chain ring, right? I mean, it's insane how strong they are, not just fit, right? And agreeing 100% with what you're saying, Nathan, where that high RPM, that became the style. Certainly Lance and company back in the late 90s, early 2000s changed things a little bit. But back in with the C1s right now, this is about where you'd expect to see this group, isn't it, size-wise, Nathan, at this point in the race? It's about, let's call it 13K of racing remaining.
Yeah, and about 35, I think, or so, still in
A
and
lot of guys
amongst
still
this
with a
front group.
shot here, and a lot of riders with similar ability levels who all don't want to sprint against Hassan Hassim. Even though, I guess, for folks just joining us, we have multiple riders, including our top two from the previous race, European. So we just did this. Actually, this is the fourth race that Nathan has done already today with our Zwift Classics, where started in New Zealand, but then we just had our European East, European Central races. Now this is European West. We had riders in this field, though, that just have gone back to back. They've been racing for the last hour and a half nonstop. And I still believe that Hassan Hassim could win this race if it comes down to a sprint. But there's a lot of riders who don't want to wait for a sprint. I see a name that certainly would be in that category, Skylab's Caleb Carl. He's one of the riders that I'd keep an eye on late in the race.
Roberts now to the front, and that's a good call to watch out for Carl. Venga boys, ECC, be Pool. He's been really spot on and covering and being in a good spot, but not contesting, which tells me that he just really wants to hang on for the moments that the moves do go. Uberti here now, 13 watts per kilogram. This is a great little battle to watch. Will Carl actually take this out? Caleb Carl with an arrow power up, showing us he's really got the fitness, actually. Making me eat my words that he's not a sprinter, because that was a 13 watt per kilogram sprint. Wow. Caleb Carl is back on the scene and off the front with Chris Uberti. These are two that could just ramp things up. I've TTT'd with Caleb Carl. Just wait for 6 watts per kilogram for a minute straight if he needs to. I mean, and then come back in, sit in at 5, and do it again for 40 minutes straight. I mean, this guy is an engine if he gets off the front. Using that burrito power up, he's looking to try to grab that arrow again.
Sounds like every member of PO Auto.
Exactly.
That's what it takes, though, Nathan, right? Finding 5 guys that can do exactly what you just said. And there's about 30 guys on the planet that can do that. This is our front group now. Business end has arrived. Tricky little sector right here. Gravel racing becoming so popular here in the United States, Nathan. This would be absolutely terrifying to do on a road bike. Going this fast on gravel, you hit a rut, you better have amazing bike handling skills. Luckily, that's not required in esports.
Interesting enough, yeah, well, that's one thing that I actually need to still get on board with, is the whole gravel scene.
I'm surprised you don't.
I did Barry-Roubaix. And it mainly had to do with, like, for me, I know we're going off on more of my own racing, but for me, it just had to do with getting that extra bike at a certain time of year and getting it all set up and that whole process. And because it's a separate discipline, right? You get your support in one discipline, and then you find your support in another discipline, and you find your support in another, and it's like, how many disciplines can you find support for, kind of a thing? And so,
and gravel requires a whole different set of equipment. You're right, and it's sort of it's almost its own sport in a way.
That was another thing about getting into cross. Like,
I really learned
everything. I learned everything about mountain biking, and then it was like, wait, what tires do I need? What pressure do I have to run? What what's the gear? And like, those little minuscule things that seem like, not, oh, just get a bike, to the general
But
population. But if
the
you jump
shoes,
in at the pro level, it's like you need to know every little thing to be competitive. And it's like, wow, I have to relearn this entire genre of the sport, and
and
now
I
I
even
got somebody
think of
asking me to do track too. And I'm like, oh my gosh, how am I going to even?
But it reminds me, Nathan, of Keel Reinen, the Trek rider, when he shows up and does Unbound, but he still has his road shoes, right? And you think, well, big deal, he'll be fine. Well, it turns out walking for 20 miles on road shoes is a bummer.
Yep, not gonna work
And
out if you got to get off the bike. That's for sure.
no, and you start to realize just because you have a huge engine and love cycling, there's specifics to each one. You cyclocross, track, you name it. And even esports requires special skills. That is for sure. Who are we in with here? Is that
That's
Caleb?
Caleb Carl, That's the man himself, hammering away. He's got a pretty good viewership actually, hanging out over on the chat. Andy Poland's in there. It looks like Bike Beast, Palo Squatch, all in the chat. Good to see you guys supporting Caleb out there.
Caleb really found out, Nathan, how loved he is in our cycling community. It was hit by a car, if I remember correctly.
No,
and,
he hit a pole. Hit a pole. He
hit a pole. I'm
full
sorry.
speed downhill. Full speed downhill.
To be honest, the impact
was
of
in
hitting a
surgery
pole
and things, and I mean, it was a serious injuries, broken bones, and all.
Community really rallied around him, which was nice to see. And Caleb is back faster than lickety split.
And
Can't believe he's already
he
back
might
racing.
actually be racing even better than he was before, from what I'm looking at, or at least the same level. I mean, he's doing really well. Now we're seeing a little bit of Smed coming over the top here. This is 1 lap to go. KST making a move here after the sprint. That was actually a call out, I think, to say it's time, because you don't do 6 watts per kilogram in the C3s for no reason off the front here at this moment.
This is all in, no doubt. Smed here sitting on some big numbers. It's going to be Shakro, one of the rhinos, who wants to get up and join him. It looks like Fanati is coming as well, the Italian Goose as well. It's completely strung out from tip to tail right now. This is a big moment here, Nathan. As you said, they're inside of the last ronde. Last lap is underway.
And it is splitting. Eisendorf trying to get back on terms. He's got to hold on right now. Grab the wheel. He's just barely going to get back on terms. He's the last one to do so. Fryson's off the back now at this point. If another gap opens up, though, right here, it's going to be curtains.
They're going to get back. They are going to get back into the fold here. That was touch and go, Nathan.
Now, when it levels right here, if somebody pushes on the front and it levels and somebody sits up,
see how it's
that's going to be the question. It will blob. I agree. 100% agree that it's most likely. But if one person right here, this is what I'm talking about. Right there, Team NL sat up. No, it was watts per kilogram. Now gets back up. Okay, now, I was wondering whether or not at 198, I wasn't sure if he had anything left to give, right? It's a race of meters sometime, right? You can see Nguyen, Team NL here. Again, they're still struggling just to get on. And these are matches being burnt right now.
But they're all back.
They are.
Wow.
Eisendorf made it too. Charlie's still here. Eric Schlange still in. We've got some. Eric, you let us down. Smed wanted it to happen. There was some sort of like agreement here, because Eric didn't come through. It sounds like. I think Eric was supposed to come through.
And Smed gave him a sad face.
Story of my life in racing. I'm loving it. They had a plan and it didn't work out. Get it together here, Eric. This is your rebel route. Where's the rebel for the route here, Schlange?
Well, unfortunately, apparently Eric was blabbing about it and everyone knew what was going on. So the worst kept secret out here. That's what you get when you try to get in a breakaway with a journalist. Smed learning his lesson.
Sounds like this is being recorded. So if you want to check out the race from his perspective, you will be able to head on over. Most likely going to be posted over on Zwift Insider. I wouldn't be surprised. As Schlange, we'll see if he hangs on here. 158. I think Eric has really been keeping things calm, actually. He's a competitive one. I see him in some chats, actually. We've got a couple of different chats going on once in a while. And
Oh, he's got the fire inside.
Yeah,
He's
he
got the
does. He
fire.
wants to take the
Yep.
win, I think, out here today.
Well, if you've made it to this point, you got to be licking your lips, as it looks like you're going to get a shot at this one now. They're into their last lap, talking about this is the European West C3s that we're into the finale with. It's about 34K, 34.3K of racing, so 3.5K to go right now. The usual suspects all over the front here.
Going to jump in real quickly with our C1s as they are just about to hit that little bump into the sprint section, leaving the Essies. 7% gradient. A lot of times we've seen kicks off the front here. This time around, though, with 1 to go, not quite as much
I wouldn't expect it. Yeah, you've got to think, Nathan, again, what you talked about in the previous race. This is a strong field. You're going to get a lot of Zwift points racing out here. This is a big one to win. With a strong field like this one really counts.
Interesting enough that arrow power-ups are being used at this point, not being saved for the final kick across the line. So somebody really wants to, well, maybe just hang on. As you seem now.
This is going to go down as it's contested. You can see the sprint is coming, but this one, well, it's going to be Hasim again. Can't help himself now. Just body blow after body blow. And we'll see if Hasim's able to take out the win. But you know who's been quiet? Zach Nair, Chris Huberti. I'd expect
I haven't
next
actually
to be pulling.
seen Huberti doing a whole lot at all.
Which tells me
super quiet.
It's like when the kids are quiet in the back room. That tells me that something's
wrong. Yeah.
Yeah.
Rogensky now off the back.
Yeah.
That's interesting enough to see. Wahoo Lacole losing a rider, actually. Ellis there from Dirt now trying to get back on terms. Will do so. Griff's there as well. Carl keeping his powder dry, I think, at the back here. Not really too concerned. Now making his way forward here and saving something. Here's near at 1.3. Definitely keeping calm. Where is Chris Huberti? Did Huberti, looking through here,
Did he?
have we lost him? Was there a dropout?
I think I see his jersey right in the middle of the group.
Yes, you're
there.
right. He has still. I was just concerned for a moment not seeing the name on the right-hand side. But Near is here, and I do see Huberti. He just didn't have next in the name, that's why. So I was missing it there.
He's activated stealth mode.
Here. Yep.
Yeah.
He somehow got an invisibility power up for just a moment. So.
And to be honest, this is a pro move right here. Quietly sitting at the back of the group, saving up. I would expect there's something coming here. Next is, yeah, that's interesting perspective, Nathan, but I would say that Next was one of the breakthrough teams in the ZRL, a team that we watched just make a huge step forward to go. I put them in my group of the 5 most competitive teams racing today. I think that's fair.
Oh, by far. Yeah, by far.
I mean, you could even, in no particular order either. I mean, they are super strong.
There's just a reality of Canyon, and then Pio Auto. You've got Sarah.
They're in that group. They're in that conversation.
They're in that
right?
same conversation for sure at this point. So, really, I mean, what's interesting to me, and I really do want to start talking about this a little bit more, is the new teams coming in, right? That's to this ZRL Season 4, and also some of the change-ups to the rosters. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be really, really interesting to see how things play out, because I just get a feeling that we may finally see. So not finally. There's been change-ups at the front, but these new teams, they may throw a wrench into some things for some of these riders is all.
Interesting too, kind of picking up now on what's happened with BRT, and Hasim is going to be a player in esports for going
Dave.
forward.
Here we go, Dave. 13 watts per kilogram. Schoniger is going across. He does not want to see this stay away here. Christian from HDR was there, and he's trying to get the upset to go, and he's left the station here, Dave. I'm not sure this is coming back because they're just watching the TFC rider right away. I don't even think they can do anything about it as Johnny Rocket looks to go across.
Yeah, I mean, we're looking at about 400 meters to go at this point. If Shaniger can hang on, he's got this one in the bag. They played a dangerous game. They let it go out way too far, way too much leash there. Nathan, I think we've got ourselves yet another breakaway
He's only
win.
doing 47K, though. He's only doing 47K,
It doesn't look good now,
2.454
does it?
Verhoeven, 63K. The speed still matters. He put too much in too early. Oh, no, Verhoeven, though, now with the jump. But here comes Wells, 2 seconds back. Is it too late? I think it may be. No, the speed is there. Wells is coming on. There, oh, power up. It's right to the line. A kick coming from, it's going to make it happen.
Oh, Wells!
No!
Oh,
He
my
did it
gosh.
right at the line. I think he got
The
him.
Australian Wells.
That might be a backhand API, though. I mean, that was right there. We're going to have to look at the replay on that one. But that was, oh, my gosh.
The Dave and API is giving it to him. That was awesome. Talk about fighting all the way to the finish. We're going to go back and take a look at a replay here. This one went back and forth. Shaniger, I thought maybe found a little extra.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden, here comes Wells. And Verhoeven,
he's moving twice as fast as the other guys out here. I mean, yeah, you're right. The API is going to tell the real story there, but certainly that look, it's all about Wells.
I think he got it. But we'll have to wait. I mean, right, it looks like he got it.
Verhoeven was super impressive. I actually, for a brief moment, I thought 3 different people won this bike race. That's the way it should be.
That was pretty awesome. That was pretty awesome. How one goes, another goes, then the field sprint, but it's not really a field sprint. It's a little bit of a breakaway. It was quite. This is turning out to be one of the best courses that we've ever seen for Zwift racing. That's for sure.
Yet, who thunk it, right? Sort of a late moment, late minute change here turned out to be the exact right call. This has been so fun.
And we're seeing Gina Van Rossum. Oh my God, Harm, go team NL. So a little bit of excitement coming on through from the chat as they cheer on their riders. Always great to see. We are jumping back in here with, we're actually in with the replay still here. Apologies, everybody. But we're back in with Uberti. This is the man. Is he fresh enough is going to be the question, Dave.
He's on his lunch break from...
well, he's kept it pretty calm, right? I mean, we haven't seen him involved a whole lot here. You see him, he's already got a race in the legs. My question is, Near going to bait something? If I were Zach Near and I'm on next and I want Uberti to win, you go.
It's bike racing 101, isn't it?
I mean, he's obviously not going to be the one who's got the kick at this point, comparatively, I would think.
So just a little perspective for everyone. There's a few guys like our top 2 from the previous race are in this field. One of them, a fantastic sprinter. We've talked a fair amount about the Irishman, Hassim. The other, Zach Nair, who won the previous race, has been one of the more impressive days of esports racing that I've seen in a long time from Zach Nair out here. But Nathan makes a great point about if Next is going to go back to back. And I mean, this is not a full contingent of Next. We're talking about 2 riders from the team, Chris Uberti, the other here. It'd be interesting to see, do they do it again? Do you attack with Zach? Well, I tell you what, why don't we answer that question for you? We've got 1K to go here.
Dobson, WLC, are they going to try and pull some sort of a lead out here and cover and kill? I don't know if anything is going to
looks like a sprint is coming.
Yeah.
We might have an actual sprint.
Nobody's really making any moves here at this point. It's surprising me a little bit. Now, Uberti might pull. He might try and pull a Near here, though. Like, he might just, okay, Next is going to do it again, but it's going to have to happen now. Like, right now.
This is the moment. Like, 3, 2, 1.
Near's doing it again. Right. Near, Uberti. There it is. Zach Near goes. Uberti tries to follow his teammate, but Near's got a bigger kick on him. Is he going to do it again? Yasim is saying, no, not this time. He goes straight across. He's not waiting for the field sprint. He's learned at this point. Uberti's going to end up pulling him in. Chris Uberti here.
Next guy.
Look at this. He's
So,
got 8
okay.
meters, 9 meters, 10 meters here. So it's going to happen, it looks like, for Uberti because he's got the arrow power up. He gets into a super tuck here. He's got the gap on Usaim. Usaim only had a burrito, and it's over. Chris Uberti over the top, and they go
Unbelievable.
1-2. Near is going to hold on as well, and they make it happen. Next, esports. Oh,
This was a
my
preview.
gosh. They are amazing. That is amazing. Oh,
Hey, ZRL Premier League, welcome to your nightmare. You just got a preview of what's going to be keeping riders up at night, Nathan. Next, in full effect as they go 1-2. Zach Nair is in fuego. Chris Oberti, champion standard. This was something else. Today made Zwift Classics so much fun. Wow. That was a blast, Nathan. Let's do another race.
that was, I mean, I was just blown away.
That was awesome.
I mean, back to
Awesome.
back. Next,
I'm shaking
great.
my head here. I mean, next is going to be such a fun story to follow along with here over the next few months. ZRL, as Martin was mentioning, we're 50 days away from starting season 4, which is going to be an absolute Donnybrook.
Yeah, 100%. Let's go ahead and see how this ended up playing out here in the replay. I mean, Near goes early. Uberti looking to follow for the lead out. I mean, this is so. It was a little. The only thing I would say is that Uberti was a little bit off the wheel for the lead out, so he didn't actually get his teammate. Look at how he timed that, though. He said, "No,
But he's also
Usain,
not
you are not
helping-
getting on my wheel." He was within 5 meters, and he threw down the arrow power with the perfect time. He's doing almost 70K on that section, Dave, where a lot of riders are coming through at only 57.
And you know what else is very astute there is he doesn't bring anyone even close to coming up to his teammate. He's able to do that surgically out there. Talking about both of these guys. I mean, Zach Nair might have, you talk about telegraphing it. I mean, it's like, look, Zach Nair just did the same thing an hour ago. There's no secrets here. He's that strong. The only person able to match his strength is his teammate, Chris Oberti. This is a big day for Next. This is going to be build a lot of confidence, and that's a man that also will be sending shivers up the spines of our sprinters in the ZRL. Hassan Hassim.
Yeah, and I did get some insider information coming on in from the guys over at the Next Esports team, and letting us know that there's some sort of big announcement coming down the road. So excited for that. We're gonna try and get them in.
What is Eddie Merckx going to be racing for him?
We're gonna try and get that interview with them as soon as we possibly can. Bring them in.
That's fun.
So
Caleb Carl got up there.
Dave, go ahead, take it away for us.
Hey, thanks, Chris Uberti. Congratulations. That was outstanding, taking the win there with his teammate Zach Nair for silver. Hassan Hassim taking the bronze medal. Hordvik taking fourth. Harris fifth. Carl for sixth. Anhoy for seventh. Dobson in eighth. McClellan in ninth. And Poole rounds out our top 10 for our Western Europe C1s. Absolutely brilliant racing out here today.
I don't think we have any B's across the line for the women's side of things just yet. Let's go and see what we've got going on, though, for the C3s for Western Europe. And it was Verhoeven just.
So he did get it. Yeah.
0.02 on the back end API there. Back end API, don't lie.
Cat's whisker.
Oh, wow. Greenhall, followed up by Schaniger. It's going to be Schmed Giron. That's going to be Johnny Rocket, actually. Husband through on 4. 7th Pilgrim, Haber, and Vanderkoos. So solid racing all around there in the C3s. And for the women, it's going to be Martin Verhaeren, followed up by Kay Struthers, Hargam, Belneves, and Lyle through for the top 5. Well, it's always a long day of broadcasting for the European time zone. That is going to be our Zwift Classics Watopia Cup. We still have a few more races to go in the Zwift Classics 2021. Next up will be Rundum Innsbruck, followed up by Trofeo Bologna and the London International. So make sure to be on the watch out for those. Sign up for them. Head on over to WTRL.racing and take a shot at the AutoCat system as well. We have seen the numbers really pick up. Next week, Dave, this course next week, I was had the most fun I've had in a long time putting together the World of Zwift feature for this course and the iconic moments. And I had to parse through so many iconic moments. We're talking KISS Super League. We're talking Tour Zwift Tour de Zwift Pro-Am. We're talking Callus Cup. I mean, it's just like thing after thing after thing on this course that has gone down with amazing moments. This is, when it comes to esport racing, one of the most classic courses. So definitely one to check out if you're going to jump in. Innsbruck Ring, the leg snapper next week, Dave.
Can't wait, and I'll look forward to seeing you on World of Zwift. Did want to mention that the latest episode has Christina Grossman up, a rider that, we'll talk about iconic moments. She and her Riot team created quite a few of those for us in the ZRL. So I hope you go and watch and like and comment. We sure appreciate all of your support. And Nathan, I learned a lot from your years and years of experience. So with you saying that, I'm ready to go out there and make some new memories next week. I love it.
It's going to be great. It's going to be great. And I think we're going to get plenty of them. So shout out to all of the esports teams and riders, as well as everybody just hanging out and trying to get good fitness and racing. Make sure to sign up. It's going to be a ton of fun. Make sure to hit those follows, subscribe, do all the cool things, like, comment, all those stuff. In order to support the channel. Know anytime that we go live here on Twitch, Facebook, and YouTube. Thanks everybody tuning in. Head over to WTRL.racing for the rest of the results for all the categories. And we'll see you for WTRL's TTT on Thursday. Until then, right on.